Panthers fans, it's time to get out of your seats. Get on your feet. It's time to get loud in this place. Are you ready? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Go, Cats, go. You know what's up when we raise the cup, say go, Cats, go. We getting amped when they light the lamp, say go, Cats, go. Since 93, one victory, say go, Cats, go. Go, Cats, go. Go, Cats, go. You know what's up when we raise the cup, say go, Cats, go. We getting amped when they light the lamp, say go, Cats, go. Since 93, one victory, say go, Cats, go. Go, Cats, go. South Florida, one tribe. Throw your hands up one time. All the way past West Palm. Exit one back to Sunrise. We FLA live. On the ice, it's a skate grind. Going hard every period. Game time is a great time. In practice, not average. Whole team will go savage. In the game, we get hat tricks with hard hits and rat tricks. That's victory. And Tam Stanley can sit with me as we watch live with the Pet fans right with me. Screaming out, let's make history. Saying, go, Cats, go. You know what's up when we raise the cup, say go, Cats, go. We getting amped when they light the lamp, say go, Cats, go. Since 93, one victory, say go, Cats, go. Go, Cats, go. Go, Cats, go. You know what's up when we raise the cup, say go, Cats, go. We getting amped when they light the lamp, say go, Cats, go. Since 93, one victory, say go, Cats, go. Go, Cats, go. Come on.
This is a Miami Sports Music Podcast Network production. This is the #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers, let's go.
I know the whole city riding. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get in the winter column. Whole squad been trained to go. Phins for life, we throw the foe. Singing this just to welcome.
What's up? Good morning. Good morning. To my Fin-laws and my family. It is your boy, Stephen D, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network, home of the #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers. You can follow me on all social media at Stephen D, SKPL, spread kindness, positivity, and love. I don't know how much kindness or positivity or love I have this morning. For the Panthers, I do. Crazy. I'm exhausted. Tired. Yesterday was a great day for the most part, up until the end. I'll explain it all here in a minute. Follow Miami Sports Music everywhere at Miami Sports Music, except on social media where we are at MIA Sports Music. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. The links are in the description below if you want to subscribe. Just make sure you hit the bell notification and all notifications. That way you get notified anytime Miami Sports Music goes live. Sign up to become a member today. There are plenty of seats waiting at the table for you. I would love to see you signed up and becoming a member. Make sure you also help the channel grow by donating. You can become a member, or you can help the channel grow by donating by just donating through the YouTube Super Chat or Super Sticker. All right. And then make sure you go $MSM Podcast Network or MSM Podcast Network on PayPal. All right. Give a big shout out to our sponsors of the show, ZSM Sports. ZSM Sports, the number one place to get your cards, jerseys, balls, and hard to find items. Make sure you follow ZSM Sports today. Lime tickets. We love Lime. Lime because Lime is the best place to get tickets to any event or sporting event across the country. It supplies tickets for you for less than the competition, allowing you to have more fun. We want you to call the number here, 202-930-3533, to get a personalized experience with tickets to the game and or the event you want today. Lime takes pride in providing the hottest tickets at great prices with absolutely no service fees. Call today. I'll tell you, I did the process yesterday with Lime. I went to the Orioles game yesterday, and I did it all through Lime. And let me tell you how easy and simple it is, man. You buy the tickets through Lime. They send you an email with the tickets, and it's great. It's very easy. So I've now done the entire process on my own, and I'm telling you, if you guys want tickets to anything, go through Lime. It is a wonderful experience. Tailgreeter, download the app today on your current Crapple or Android devices. Everything's good. You guys can do any of that. Remember, we got the FedEx takeover, the Philly Finvasion, and the Baltimore beatdown this year. That for the 2023 Tailgreeter Tailgate Tour presented by Miami Sports Music. So a lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool stuff there. It'll be good times. We're going to dive a deep dive into the Miami Dolphins' current 90-man roster. We're going to talk South Florida playoff weekend, and we'll start off with some, what happened yesterday, personally. But as always on Fridays, I have a co-host. He is my brother from another mother, and super excited. Super excited. I see y'all in the chat. Sounds very depressed this morning. To be fair, I am a little depressed. And some of it has to do with LeBron. Other of it has to do with personal stuff that went down this morning. And I hate the DMV and all that other bullcrap and life bullcrap. And yeah. And I stayed up to watch that long ass hockey game last night. And I loved that we won, but man, we better have for all that for that staying up that late or early. I'll get into all that here in a minute. All right, let me bring out my co-host for the day. I am not with it this morning, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Sarney. What's up? Whoa.
Morning, everybody. You know it's going to be a tough day when I'm the one trying to bring it all back and hold it together. So.
Yeah, man, let me tell you, dude. Let me tell you.
Hope all's good, my dude.
Yeah, yesterday was good. Yesterday, did the show yesterday. It was a good short show. Then, got ready, got the baby girl out of school. That was cool. Wearing all the Orioles stuff and everything, taking her out of school. And then we went to the stadium and did daddy-daughter day at the stadium. And that was one of the coolest experiences in the world. Orioles lost, but it was cool. Shohei Ohtani hit a home run. Mike Trout hit a home run. Adley Rutschman hit a home run. Anthony Santander hit a home run. There was a lot of home runs to go around. And we sat in the club level. We sat right behind the visiting team's dugout and the batter's box, or the not the batter's box, but where the bat. I'm having a brain fart this morning because I know everything about baseball.
The bullpen area?
No, not the bullpen area. When the batter's warming up to go on the on
deck circle.
On deck circle, and did that. And then we went down to the third base side because we knew the usher there, and we sat in the first row, and she ended up getting a baseball within 2 seconds of sitting there. And then after the game, an Angel player that the usher knew came out and autographed it for Savannah, and she was
nice,
ready to go. And so it was a great day. And so then we go back to she had a baseball game that afternoon, so we had to rush to get back. So we rushed to get back so she can get dressed for her baseball game. And It was not. So just so you know, it's 6 and 8, 6 through 8. And there's 4 6 through 8 teams, and we just rotate playing each other. We don't even play against the other counties. We just rotate playing each other. And we play 4 innings. They're 4 inning games because they start at 6 and they go till like 7:30. So after 4 innings, it's tied 0-0. We had the bases loaded once. They had the bases loaded once. And then they go into the top of the. We decide to play one more inning. Let's do one more inning. So top of the 5th, 6 through 8 years old. They get the bases loaded with 1 out. And I'm like, I can't believe it. We should have just ended in a tie. Would have been, a good something to hang our hat on to. And the kid that was just playing pitcher, the opposing team hit it right to the pitcher, and he ran to home plate back-to-back twice. By the way, one of the biggest things I've been working on with these kids is as soon as the ball's hit, to go straight towards the ball. And so
don't just wait for it.
We get out of a bases loaded inning. Okay. So it's 0-0. Bottom of the 5th. We get bases loaded. And we hit a walk-off single to win the game.
There you go. That's fun.
And it was like seeing these. I was pumped. I was like, let's go. 14 innings of baseball today, home runs by the best players in Major League Baseball, and a walk-off by my daughter's baseball team. I was pumped, kid. I was like, let's go. I love baseball.
That's fun stuff.
That was great, man. And all the kids were just, oh my God. And the parents were like, oh my God, let's go. So it was really cool living vicariously through her last night and doing that and coaching that. That was so much fun. So we get back and I'm like, all right. Let's go. Panther hockey time, Laker time, or LeBron time. Didn't really watch. I watched most of the first period of the hockey game. Then the basketball game started. And I thought it was a good game for the most part. Lakers game, right? Going back and forth. Lakers are winning for the most part the entire game. They're keeping up. And I'm like, all right, this is good. Now, I noticed a couple things. AD having an off game. He's going through that great game, off game crap again. and so, I'm thinking they got this. They're going to win game 2. They're going to take care of business. And the series is going to be tied 1-1. And then LeBron showed his age. LeBron showed his age last night and made some bad decisions last night with the basketball, and it really bothered me. And they ended up losing, and it was rough to watch them blow that fourth quarter lead the lead that they had and blow the fourth quarter. LeBron took some shots that I just was like, what are you doing? He looks old. Like, he's not the same LeBron anymore. And I think what hurts the most, like, I know people are going to be in here giving me crap today. I get it. And I accept it and I embrace it. But let's get something straight. LeBron is at the end of his career, towards the end of his career, if not right at the end. I don't think he's gonna try to stay on 2 more years. We got 2 more years of LeBron, and hopefully he can last 2 more years. But man, it was really good, or it was really bad. I was depressed after that loss. Like, I was legit in a funk last night. And then all of a sudden my DMs on Twitter, and I started getting mentioned in tweets last night by certain people that are in the chat this morning. And yeah, man, it was rough last night. It was rough. That's all I know. I know we're down 0-2, but the Lakers play very well at home. There's nobody else that plays better at home. And, and what it was. Now, I'm depressed, and I'm watching the end of the hockey game. Goes into the overtime. Okay? Thought we had won 3 minutes into that first overtime. By the way, that should have been a goal. Don't care what anybody says. Going to overtime number 2. At this point, I'm falling asleep. Like, I'm exhausted from the day. I've done a morning show. I've done, a 5-hour day at the ballpark. I've done another couple of hours at the Little League Park. I've watched the Lakers. I had an emotional roller coaster watching the Lakers game that ended in major depression, and now I'm watching this game and I'm struggling to stay awake. And I'm like, I gotta stay awake. I gotta finish this. I gotta watch I couldn't turn it off. It was a train wreck. Couldn't turn it off. Gotta watch the game. Gotta watch the game. Gotta watch the game. And they go into the third period, and did they go to the fourth? Was it a fourth overtime or a third overtime? I forget which one.
I am not sure on the hockey front.
It does not matter. All I know is that game ended almost at 2 a.m. and it was rough. Okay. It was absolutely rough. But I'm glad that they won. I'm glad they took a 1-0 lead. And for the last fourth overtime, end of the fourth, you're right. If I'm correct, the last 7 periods for the Panthers, they have not allowed a 5-on-5 goal in the last 7 periods. The 2 goals that the Carolina Hurricanes got last night were on a power play. So they had a man up. So, man, they've been 12 seconds before being the 5th overtime. And let me tell you, buddy, I was so happy when they scored that last goal. I was like, I can't do a 5th overtime. Make it stop. I'm tapping out. I'm not blowing past by the Lakers losing. They lost. It was a bad loss. That's one of those losses that unless they take the next 2 in LA, I don't know how they win. Because this team can't afford to go 3-1 down. They have to win the next 2 in LA. If they win the next 2 in LA and make it a 3-game series, it's good. But my Lakers in 6, I still think can happen, but a lot needs to go down. And they got to play 10 times better. And Anthony Davis needs to show up. And they need to play Hachimura more. That guy in 13 minutes had 19 points in 13 minutes. And they didn't play him that much. I don't understand why not. So I don't think that the Lakers are done. They just need to win the next 2. But man, it was disappointing last night. And I know everybody in the chat is here for me in my misery this morning. And to be fair, guys, LeBron had no business. What is he, 1 for 19 in 3-pointers? His last 19 3-point attempts. He does not need to Steven, if the Lakers lose, you have to rock a Lakers logo on your show for a week deal. I mean, I have Lakers gear. I have Lakers gear. I have Miami Heat gear. I have anything that is LeBron related. I have Cavaliers gear. I have Miami Heat gear. Anything that has to do with LeBron, I have. Y'all can make fun all you want. Okay? The Joker's not him. The Joker can be beat. Let's just put it out there. And the Joker's not the reason they won that game last night, although he did have a good fourth quarter. Hell of a lot better fourth quarter than they had, game 1. But that's one of those games where the Nuggets didn't win because they're the better team. The Nuggets won because the Lakers are getting old, man. And that talent just can't overcome that youth that the Denver Nuggets had. And maybe that does make them better, right? But when you start aging in sports, you start seeing it. You start seeing in different things. At the end of Marino's career, I remember Marino losing a little bit of a touch, right? That last year. Brett Favre.
He was hurt
that year in Minnesota. Hell, even with his year with the Jets, like you knew he lost a touch. Peyton Manning, the only reason he won that last Super Bowl is because he was smart with the football and knew when mistakes not to make. But that defense is what won that Denver Broncos team a Super Bowl, because Peyton Manning did not look like the Peyton Manning of old. And the same thing, go back to Jordan's Wizards days. Jordan didn't look like half the man that he was when he was with the Wizards. The funny part was I still think he was averaging like 16 to 18 points a game with the Wizards.
He played every game, I think.
Huh?
I think he played every game.
He did. I think he played almost every game. He didn't play as many minutes, but
I mean,
nonetheless.
yeah.
Were the Lakers old against Memphis and Golden State? I didn't hear any of that, but now they're look, I'm not making excuses, Lewis. Okay, my guy. I am saying that they lost. I am saying that LeBron did look old. You can't deny that he didn't last night. And I am also saying that Denver's got their number right now. And unless something changes in the next 2 games, my boy LeBron. And by the way, so that's what I'm gonna have a heart-to-heart with you guys on Spread Kindness Friday. I defend LeBron to the ends of the earth because I think the man gets so much hate in the NBA. I do. I've never seen a player in the history of sports get as much hate as that man does for no other reason than he's the man. None. There's no reason to hate on LeBron James. Absolutely none. The man doesn't have off the court scandals. He's been married to the same woman. He has children. He has children with all the same women. There's no other, outside scandal or anything like that. He's raised millions and billions of dollars for charities, schools, inner cities, suburban areas. The man has created millions of jobs. He took he was the first real guy that we saw his entourage that he grew up with. He made them all better. He said, you know what? I'm not just going to pay you to be in my entourage and stay with me. I'm going to pay for you guys to go to school and become some great things. Look at Maverick Carter now. How can y'all get mad at this man? Y'all hate on this man for nothing. So, yes, I defend him to God's green earth because I feel at the end of the day, if LeBron were to get 6 rings, hell, even 5, but at least 6, that nobody could ever argue with me. And so him being this close to a championship this year and them losing hurts. It hurts, man. It hurts here. Okay. That's what I was depressed about last night. I was depressed because I saw that. I don't know if this man's got it. I don't know if they can do it against Denver. And so I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Denver blows it in the next 2 games in LA. But man, a lot of stuff needs to change because they cannot have happen. And to be fair, they could have won last night's game. I think part of last night's game was the coaching. Ham. If he had played Hachimura more, they would have been fine. Lonnie Walker should have. I don't understand why Lonnie Walker and Hachimura are not getting more playing time. I mean, I love D'Angelo Russell. Don't get it twisted, but I just don't get it. I don't know. So that's what hurt last night, Jason. The reality setting in that LeBron's probably not going to win another championship because I don't know if he'll play with a better team.
It's a good problem to have when your favorite player just may not be able to win a thumb ring. So affectionately, stop whining.
I don't want to, man.
I mean, if we're you know what?
Friday.
My back hurts. I'm sitting on a chair full of diamonds here. I don't know.
I mean, look, I still, as a LeBron defender, as a LeBron supporter, it still sucks that every day I have to defend the man who's absolutely
whatever happened to leaving on top. You know, give me.
He's not leaving on top. That man wants to play with his son.
That I can understand. So do that 1 year. If he does that 1 year and then leaves, I don't. No, that's what I'm saying. If he can get 1 year with his son, just retire no matter what, and say, yep, I got to play 1 year with my son. Don't say I'm going to retire when my son and I win a championship together. Then you're going to go out looking like, sometimes you reference Peyton Manning, not Peyton Manning on the Broncos. At least he won a Super Bowl with the second team he played for to win a Super Bowl. There are quarterbacks, if you really kind of look back into their twilight, imagine some of these quarterbacks in different jerseys just trying one last time. It makes no sense. So Joe Namath was on the Niners for like his last year. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. Right? It's like just go. Marino did not want to go somewhere else.
I know, and I appreciate Dan Marino for that, because that would have been weird seeing him in a purple jersey.
I was going to say Minnesota was ready.
Yeah, no doubt about it. By the way, somebody gave me a $5 donation earlier. William Perry, Steven, you got to shout out my Jesse's girl. She's playing for her softball championship tonight. Shout out to Jesse's girl. All right, I'm not going to sing for you. Shout out to her, man. Hope she wins tonight. Kevin Lee says Denver is the most complete team left and no one can beat them at home. It's not going to happen. They will win it all. Dallas Stars will also win it all this year. Florida Dallas Cups finals coming though. I'm gonna tell you, man, that game was legendary last night. Only it is what was it, the 6th longest game in NHL history. And if it had went to 5 periods, it would have become the 5th, I think.
That's crazy.
So yeah, man, that game last night was unreal. Like, here's what bothers me about that Panthers game, though. Okay. When you play that much in one night, what is game 2 gonna look like for the Hurricane? and like they're going to be exhausted, and they're playing every other night too, I think.
These guys are warriors, though, too. It's
unbelievable. And Bobrovsky, Sergey, the goaltender. I don't know how the hell. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. That man played 7 periods last night. What is he going to look like for game 2? Because he's not a young cat anymore. That's an old man right there. So I hope that they, I hope that they do well. But I am nervous about game 2. But game 2 is going to be a very slow game, not a lot of scoring, and it will not be very exciting. And I don't, and I think they should bring in their backup goaltender for game 2. And I know that sounds stupid, but they played 2 games plus back-to-back last night. And they need to let him sit game 2, relax. Let's not worry about it. We won 1 there. It'll be a gentleman's sweep, winning 5. And I would definitely be. I saw that yesterday and I looked at it. I'm like, oh, I like that term.
I just like that term, a gentleman's sweep. Yeah.
I do too. I'm like, I like the term gentleman's sweep. It's such a good term. But man, it's gonna be good. Well, we'll see where it goes. If y'all want to get on me about my Lakers or about LeBron, not my Lakers, LeBron. I don't care about the Lakers. I care about LeBron. Then fine. So be it. I'm here all day. You guys can give me crap all day. It's whatever. Is that Mr. Danny Johnson, TPP CEO? Good morning, gentlemen.
Danny. What's going on, my man?
Still Danny's coming to 53, but what a great time to be a Dolphins fan. No doubt, my guy.
He gave me a lead into the 53, Steven. Can we start talking about the Dolphins?
We can start talking about the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Nice segue.
Yeah. Danny.
All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. So, texting Jason this morning, and Jason's like, I want to talk 90-man roster. I want to talk these undrafted free agents. I want to dive into what the 90-man roster looks like.
It's like my favorite time of year. It really is. I love educating myself on these prospects.
So, I think it'll be Danny says, I thought that might get you all rolling. Shout out to you, my guy. I'm telling you right now, the Miami Dolphins roster currently constructed as is not going to look. There will be some different things happening over the next several weeks that will change that. Post June 1st will change that. Post June 1st for other teams could change that for our roster if somebody's let go that they like, right? And ultimately, there are people that are free agents that are still sitting at home because they don't want to work at OTAs. They don't want to go to training camp. They want to, and one of those people is Ndamukong Suh. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a Dolphin, but he's a good example of somebody that wants nothing to do with OTAs, wants nothing to do with training camp, and will come in, later on in the season and contribute, because he did with the Eagles. He contributed really well last year for the Eagles. So there's plenty of people still at home that are just waiting to see how the season's going to play out and who's going to be there at the top, towards the middle. Kevin Lee says Miami Dolphins preseason football in 4 months. Shake Money says Noah Igbenogany will be a Pro Bowler. Not on the Dolphins. Maybe on the Vikings, but not on the Dolphins.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I spent the morning. I just said, look, they got almost 90 players on the roster with all these undrafteds. Obviously, Byron Jones comes off the roster. They brought in a couple of free agent veteran linemen. So, I threw together every name in terms of regular roster, rookies, undrafted, recent free agents. And I did my best to kind of construct who I think could be on the 53. And right now I have 50 names that are, I believe, on the 53. We'll do the deep dive, but I've purposefully left 3 slots that I'm not adding the players that I've had on the practice squad, which I have 16 of, because that's the rule. You got 16 practice squad players, a couple of specific rules within that. But then I got the guys on the bubble. The slots that I have empty are going to remain empty for a post-June 1st edition skill position player, a veteran offensive lineman, which I still do believe will be in the cards, much like you said, maybe a veteran after the training camp or when everything gets cut, the scrap heap. There will be another pertinent potential starter offensive lineman, I believe, added. And I think they're going to get one undrafted free agent is going to arise and make this team. So with that said, I'll open it up to any questions you have, Steven, of specificity within that 50 that I have.
I think what I want to do is, so I went to ourlads this morning, ourlads.com, and I put in the depth chart, and I want to go, step by. I want to go through all the players, and I want to, I kind of, want to do a deep dive on all the players to a certain extent and say who you like, who do you not like, how this person can contribute. Is this person somebody that could eventually make the roster? And that includes undrafted free agents, and that includes, people that we picked up in free agency so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to start this bad boy up.
Let's do it.
All right, let me make this bigger for y'all. Maybe I'll go down one.
And I will say this prior to really anything in terms of like constructing the roster. Per different sites, per different, depth charts, you could have Jalen Phillips as a linebacker. One other site could have him as defensive end. Put him as a linebacker. He's an edge rusher linebacker on the outside. Other scenarios could have defensive backs versus a safety or a corner. Sometimes just call these positions the general. Call a defensive back, because there's going to be a ton of flexibility this year, and even some more flexibility that we don't even know, that I'm telling you is in the process of being cooked on the defensive side that we're not even thinking of. That's going to be really fun. Really.
All right. And all right. I sent you a message. All right. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a deep dive into how everything is. So if you look at the current roster currently constructed as is, you're going to see a lot of things. I think I want to start in the wide receiver room. And what we're going to do here is we're going to break down everything that's in the receiver room, and we're going to talk about it. So I know Jason's fixing his internet stream right now, so I'm going to let him do that real quick. And in the meantime, I'm going to start step by step with all these players, with everything. And then
am I good now?
I think so. It's a little bit better.
My bad.
We'll see if it works. It's all good. All right. We'll start at the end and go to the top. I think that's the way to do it, right? The end of the depth chart. Wide receiver room. Dawood Davis and Chris Coleman, 2 undrafted free agents. What do you know about any one of these guys? Or do any of these guys have the possibility of making a NFL roster Probably not ours with this room, but are either one of these guys that you think have some of the goods?
Short answer, just based on the depth of this current wide receiver room and maybe one or two guys who could sniff a chance prior to them. These guys, I don't think, have the ability to make the team. I think they're camp bodies. I've done, of the 20 some odd undrafted free agents, I've probably done about 10 deep dives. I've started at the positions that could see one of these undrafteds rise. So for lack of a better description, I don't know everything there is to know about those two wide receivers. But when you look at the Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Braxton Berrios, Eric Ezekama from last year, of course, the signing of Chosen Anderson, Robbie Chosen, whatever you want to call him. There's a lot of people in that room, including River Craycraft. I just don't think there's any chance, if your name's not Braylon Sanders, last year's undrafted, who was on the practice squad, to kind of move on up. So I would say no to those two making the roster, maybe one on the practice squad, but we could see those guys being cut, kind of
very early
on in the process. Right.
Yeah.
Give them a shot somewhere else.
No offense to you guys, but I agree. All right, let's go to wide receiver Freddie Swain, somebody who the Dolphins picked up from the Denver Broncos. What are your thoughts about Freddie Swain, and why would he be a good fit in Miami? I'm not saying he's going to make the roster, but why do you think the Dolphins signed him, and why would he fit this offense?
Just a practice squad player from a previous season, and and he's a guy who might just have a little bit more knowledge than some of those undrafteds. Will he crack the roster? No. Rules are, I believe, 9 accrued games in the NFL leaves you ineligible to remain on a practice squad. So I believe Freddie will be in that world to still be on a practice squad if they chose to go that route. I think he still has that eligibility, which is where I'd place him.
He was an undrafted free agent for the Seattle Seahawks back in 2020, then went to the Dolphins practice squad, then went to Denver practice squad. Actually, he played for Denver. He might have played for Denver. Did he play for Denver? Denver from Miami's practice squad. Yes, he got claimed from our practice squad from Denver. And then when Denver waived him, Miami picked back to us. We picked him right back up. Look, he's 197 pounds. He runs a 4.46 in the 40. They made the move to slot receiver full time in 2018 when he took his game to the next level. He's from Florida. He's got the quickness and burst to making him effective and high ceiling route runner at the next level. But is he somebody that can do that? I think if you are in your 4th year and you've pretty much been on the practice squad, it's like the equivalent of a 4A player in baseball. It's somebody that's better than what should be for the AAA, but somebody that when they get to the majors, they can't cut it. And that's what we call a 4A player. And I think Freddie Swain is one of those guys. And that's no offense to him, but I think that's the reality of him.
You're right, well said. And there's certain just scenarios of players that their job is a practice squad player to help others get better, to run routes, to help cornerbacks defend them, go through the mini camp, the training camp, that process. But there is a ceiling there with Freddie. And I believe it's where we're at with him.
Next up is Braylon Sanders. Braylon Sanders is somebody that the Dolphins and Dolphins fans, for that matter, like. I think he's somebody that shows a lot of potential from Mississippi. He's about 6 foot and he weighs 194 pounds. And, he's been was on Miami's practice squad last year. And he was activated a couple times, but I don't know if he ever got into any games that I'm aware of. But he was activated a handful of times for a couple of games last year. Look, I think I like him. There's a lot to like about the kid. My thing about Braylon is going to be, is he one of those guys that is above Freddie Swain as a quote unquote 4A player in the football terms? Or is he somebody that, given the opportunity, he might be able to make a stamp on this roster?
In Braylon's scenario, he's a prospect that has a better potential ceiling because we don't know it yet. I mean, he was activated, I believe, 4 games, but was just never got necessarily involved. I don't think he got a reception or a target, but he dressed. But he was a guy that, a year ago today or going into the training camp time period, he was making waves. He was being, a guy that we were talking about as potentially making, this full-time roster. And you know what? If not for a crowded room, and right now we have Cedric Wilson there and Anderson or Chosen, so it makes it difficult for him to crack a potential, bona fide spot on the 53 in that room where they're going to carry 6, but probably dress 5. So with River Craycraft on the bottom of the room and still Cedric Wilson there, it will probably make things tough for him to ascend. However, he could be a guy that, other teams could be interested in, but chances are ends up on the practice squad again for Miami.
Next up is Eric Ezukanma. Eric Ezukanma is somebody that I think we all like the potential of what he could be. Eric Ezukanma last year was drafted by the Miami Dolphins out of Texas Tech. There's a lot to like about the kid. The issue for him last year allegedly was he couldn't grasp the playbook, and he was somebody that was struggling with it. Well, this year, it was interviewed to him, and he's like, I got a good grasp of it now. I feel a lot better. The issue that I have with maybe Eric Ezukanma being able to make that next step is the Dolphins brought in Braxton Berrios, which I don't want to get to Braxton, but I think the signing of Berrios hurts the opportunities for Eric Ezukanma. What are your thoughts about Ezukanma? And do you think there's just not enough opportunities for him this year for us, and that he could be a casualty in camp and be picked up by somebody else?
I don't think he'll be a camp casualty. What I do think, and just this is the Cedric Wilson situation at this point, if he goes through training camp and starts the season with the Dolphins, Eric Ezukanma is going to find a difficult way to ascend, or to build off of whatever momentum he has, which is limited. Braxton Berrios does a little bit of a different scenario than Ezukanma with where he plays offensively and, of course, what he could do on special teams. So he's a different animal in and of itself. And then the chosen scenario here is another thing that makes it particularly difficult for Ezukanma. I do believe that Cedric Wilson could be moved, right before training camp for a day 3 draft pick next year or something. I just think that that's better for all parties, in which case my room of wide receivers is Tyreek, Waddle, Ezukanma, Berrios, Chosen, and River Craycraft, with Ezukanma maybe finding difficulty dressing.
I like the opportunity of what Eric can become. He's somebody for me that, and looking at where, he's been from the standpoint of the Miami Dolphins, I think that if given the opportunity, he could definitely become somebody that, in my opinion, could make an impact on this roster, having somebody like Wes Welker teaching him. And Wes Welker teaching him makes Eric Ezukanma, for me, seem like a prime candidate for somebody that can be an effective person on this roster. Now, will that happen? I don't know. But ultimately, I think there's 2 things that matter to him. How well he plays between now and then, right? How well he's grasped the playbook. He really knows the playbook now, right? And what happens to Cedric Wilson? If Cedric Wilson stays, I got to be honest with you, I don't know if there's room for him. But because I don't know if they're going to keep 6 or 7 wide receivers.
They're not keeping 7. I mean, last year they brought in, they within the 53, they had 6.
Yeah.
But they never dressed more than 5.
5 wide receivers, 5 tight ends, and 5 running backs last year, right?
In a normal sense, I think, it was 4. Well, Stephen Carter, before he was hurt, I think was like a fullback / tight end, but however you want to specify that.
Camp, I think that's what it was. But still,
right.
Here's the thing. Eric Ezukanma to me is a bubble guy, and he needs to have a great preseason and a great training camp, and needs to show the Dolphins why Cedric Wilson doesn't matter. You got me. And I can definitely take the place of, whoever. Now, the other thing that's also going to be there too is Chosen. And we'll get to him here in a minute. But let's get the guy who is part of the big reason why I think that Eric Ezukanma might not be somebody who the Dolphins, keep. Now, by the way, the Dolphins did go out and spend a draft pick on him. Does that mean they keep him last year? Or Or does that mean he gets to keep a roster spot because he was a draft pick last year? A mid-round draft pick?
If you're going to ask me specifically, I mean, he was a draft pick of your first year regime head coach trying to install this system. So I don't think he's a guy that you give up on or throw away the investment just yet, unless something is just egregious, whether it's off field, whether it's in the classroom, whatever it is, unless it's like a really, really bad situation, you can't cut the plug on him because he did show on-field talent. We all saw it. I get it. It was against third stringers who were probably going to be cut the next week in those preseason games, but talent, yes.
Skylar and Ezukama last preseason, I was like, holy cow, man, that's a matchup waiting to be, that's a
I will say we don't want to see that too often in a regular
we don't want to.
We don't want to be seeing a prevalent Skylar.
But it looked good in preseason,
yes,
nonetheless.
Maybe in 5, 6, 7 years.
But Pete appreciated it.
It was a fun little preseason with those guys.
Look, a 4th round draft pick. I don't know. Now, I will say if he doesn't make the team, fans are going to be like, so you drafted a 4th round draft pick again? Who, they're fans are keeping receipts on Greer, and they are closely monitoring him. And if he keeps on messing up, and with these, there's no defending him. There isn't. And it's tough to have a 4th. You got to be able to hit on some 3rd and 4th round draft picks, and he's got a history of that, of succeeding with some of them. But Eric Ezukama, the reason why I think he's not going to is our next person, and that's Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios for me is somebody that I think will play very well with the Dolphins' current offensive scheme. I think he adds something, and part of the reason why Eric Ezukama might have a chance is because of his current position coach. Braxton Berrios is going to flourish with having Wes Welker as his position coach. He will take over the duties of the punt and return, probably. What are your thoughts about Braxton Berrios, and why is he a good fit for the Miami Dolphins?
I mean, look, if I could be confident in saying that anybody is Wes Welker 2.0 for this specific team and what he could do, yeah, sure. Throw a guy like Berrios into that comparison. We need a return person for punts. We need better starting field position. So if that's his massive value, it's huge because they were bottom barrel. We're talking bottom 2 or 3 teams in the league last year in starting field position as well as the return game, both phases of it. Actually, all the phases of it when you're considering returns and coverage of them, but that's not Berrios on the coverage. It's the returns. He will help there. He will also clearly help being a 3rd or 4th receiving option outside of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. There's going to be so much coverage towards those guys. Someone's going to have to eat in those areas of the field where he could turn a 5-yard little quick hitch into a 60-yard gain. So, let's see. I like his potential. Miami homegrown kid. So there's definitely going to be that.
He was a Dolphins fan growing up,
Yeah. So if anyone is going to love that moniker of Wes Welker 2.0 and getting coached up by a former Dolphin, listen, this guy's going to come into camp running through walls here. So I'm excited to see what he could do. Fan favorite instantly. And he's going to probably run out of that tunnel week 3 at home. Whew. That's just a dream to play for your hometown football team. First year coming on in. Good for him. Can't wait to watch him play as a Dolphin.
Braxton Berrios is somebody that truly excites me.
Yeah.
On every level, on every ounce of my being as a fan. As somebody who watches football, I'm very excited to see what he can do with this offensive scheme with Mike McDaniel, right? And he's somebody that last year he was playing, with Garrett Wilson, who had a great year, right? But people had to defend Berrios too. Well, the reality of the situation is you have Tyreek Hill on one side and Jalen Waddle on the other, and maybe even Chosen Anderson, depending on what type of offensive package you're running. And if you were to, if he's playing slot or the number 4 in certain packages, Berrios is going to get open because he's going to be playing against the 3rd or 4th DB on most teams. I think Berrios is going to have a huge impact on the offensive game just as much as the special teams this year. And
I hope you're right there.
I think the math adds up that he will.
I mean, the math certainly does. I mean, this is a guy, and again, if take away a guy like a Jakeem Grant, and I know people are going to go crazy in the chat when I mention this name, but take away a name like a Ted Ginn, because these are the guys that you paid money to literally score touchdowns on kickoffs and on punt returns. You can't really name me many people who have taken one to the house for the Dolphins in the last 20 some odd years outside of those guys. So this is a guy
I was there live for the high five game.
Oh, the Oakland.
Yep.
I mean, not Oakland. I wasn't Oakland. I was my bad.
They were Oakland then, I think, still.
Oh, no, my bad. My mistake on the logistics there. But the fact is, Berrios is a guy that could take the ball on a kickoff, a couple of yards deep in the end zone and say, "Screw it, I'm going to go because I see a way," and then score a touchdown. He was a Pro Bowl return man a couple of years ago. He did just that, and he led the league in average kickoff return yards. Of course, when you have 100-yard returns, it's going to help that. But again, you're capable of doing that in this era of kickoff returns, which is not common to take one to the house. Any guy that has that ability, it can maximize everything in the game, especially if you get scored upon, gets a kickoff, and then returns it back to enemy territory, makes life easier for Tua in the offense. Another reason why Tua could have an easier time this year. Better special teams. Braxton Berrios could help that along with Devon Achane, who's going to help on returns as well.
All right. So Miami Sports Music, #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. What we're doing right now is we're doing a deep dive into the current 90-man roster. And we're not necessarily picking who's going to be on the 53, but what we're saying is what do each individual need to do to either A, make the 53, or B, have a major impact on this year heading into 2023. We're in the wide receiver room, and we're going to work our way through the entire roster this morning. We're still in the wide receiver room. Let's stay there with, by the way, hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Over 70 of y'all watching, only 16 likes. Hit the like button. It helps. If you guys want to donate to the channel and help the channel grow, and you guys want to ask a question with your donation, do that. We'll answer your questions as we go along with the super chats. It's Spread Kindness Friday. Let's spread some kindness. All right, Robbie Chosen. Robbie Chosen's a very interesting person into this roster because, the idea of what he can be is there, right? He's somebody that at the end of the day, the Dolphins kind of looked at, and they actually McDaniel looked at and said, all right, Chosen's got speed. He's got something that, he's got height. He's somebody that, has a history of semi-success within the NFL. He's played for a few different teams with some bad quarterbacks, some decent quarterbacks, or at least a decent quarterback. He's played for the Jets. He had a really good year with them. Played for the Carolina Panthers. Played for the Arizona Cardinals. Excuse me. And now he's playing for the Miami Dolphins. 30 years old, 8 years NFL experience. Either he's going to do it here or he's never going to play again in the NFL. Is how I look at Chosen. He excites me for what he can become, but the question is, can he replicate what he did that big year with the Jets? And that was a few years ago. And most people, few years removed from one good season in the NFL, it's tough to duplicate that. And, if Eric Ezukama has a big, or Braylon Sanders for that matter, has a big training camp, maybe Chosen doesn't make the team. I fully expect him to, by the way. But if he doesn't show what he says he is, which is a good football player and somebody that's going to make an impact on this roster, Braylon Sanders and Eric Ezukama are right behind him, ready to say, hey, man, we're ready, coach. Let's go. So what is your thoughts about Robbie Chosen?
I mean, I agree with you in theory that, he's not in the top 5 right now. Like right now, he is not. It's Tyreek, it's Waddle, it's Ezukama. I'm sorry. It's Tyreek, it's Waddle, it's Cedric Wilson, it's Berrios. And then you got to say, Craycraft is there because of the knowledge of the playbook, his blocking ability, and
McDaniel loves him.
And McDaniel loves him.
Absolutely loves him.
Right. So if you're keeping Cedric Wilson in, Robbie's out. just unless they value the offensive threat of the deep ball versus the playbook knowledge, McDaniel's familiarity with River, what have you. If Cedric is out, the last position in that wide receiver room could be chosen Ezukama or, as you mentioned, Sanders. I do think Craig Kraft has tenure for the moment. Well, tenure is a bad word because that means he's never going to get fired. But I think he's got safe passage this season. River.
Well, look, you changed your name to put Chosen on the back of it.
I like this. Like, he has a good message with that. I have no issue with what
I have no problem with the Ocho Cinco kind of stuff and the marketing and none of that. But is that going to be good enough to make the team? And that has nothing to do with your playing ability. A healthy Robbie Chosen has the potential to make this 53.
I'll give it that, and I'll agree. Potential, certainly.
He needs to have a big training camp and a big preseason.
And Cedric's got to get traded. I'll keep those things. If we see that, then I think that's...
If Cedric gets traded, by the way...
He's on the roster, pretty much.
If Cedric gets traded, Braylon, Sander, Eric Ezukama, and Chosen should all be jumping up and down for joy. Because...
And battling.
It makes it more likely that instead of maybe one of them, maybe two of them can make the roster out of those three. So it'll be interesting. Mauricio says Chosen will be the number 4 by the end of preseason. Maybe.
And maybe, yeah. I mean, again, if we take a Cedric Wilson out of the equation, he's battling for that spot. Sure. 100%.
River Craycraft. Next up on the list, River Craycraft, somebody that came from San Francisco in 2022, scored a couple touchdowns for us last year, made some impactful plays. I like the kid, and I like that McDaniel likes him. And as long as he can do what McDaniel wants him to do, I think he's an asset to this team. I will say at the end of the day, River Craycraft is currently the number 4 wide receiver, no matter what way you look at it. And we'll stay that way. Well, Steven, what about Berrios? Do you put Berrios over Craycraft? Berrios is a slot receiver, which automatically makes him, in my opinion, the number 3, right? But Cedric Wilson is here. And until Cedric Wilson moves off this roster, I don't know how much playing time Berrios will get. So I put him below River Craycraft in my pecking order. But he can jump ahead of him if Cedric Wilson goes, because he'll be the true slot wide receiver then. So as far as River Craycraft is concerned, he's the 4th wide receiver, and he will make this roster this year unless he just craps the bed or Braylon, Eric, or Robbie show Mike McDaniel that those guys are far and away superior over River Craycraft. If it's close, Craycraft's getting the nod because of his relationship with McDaniel. You agree?
I mean, yeah, when you put it that way, there's like that intangible of familiarity, knowledge, relationship that's already built in. Craycraft, he played like, a fraction of the, like 20% of the snaps last year, only received about nine catches, but 2 of them were touchdowns. And this is a guy who could come up big when needed because he's always ready for his number to be called because he's prepared. He's a kind of one of those, bring your lunch, lunch paddle work kind of guys. And if he's got to just stalk block for everyone else, the 25 snaps he's in, he'll do that.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that whole situation with Cedric. So Cedric is the next person on this list. Cedric Wilson, I think you and I are of the same mind. Post June 1st, he's getting traded or released. Like, it's going to happen.
If the Vikings weren't in their planning, where they're not bringing in salary, they're not doing that. But if there were a team that wanted to get rid of a Dalvin Cook and bring in a player, a veteran whose salary wasn't necessarily an issue, that would have been a very fair swap. But I think he's better suited going to a team that needs a wide receiver, needs a potential guy who can help out in returns. He's just not going to be utilized on Miami, what his potential could be. I'm not saying he's the God's gift to third string receivers or a second receiver, but he was signed before the Tyreek Hill trade. That changed life. When the Dolphins had the availability to get Hill, The Cedric Wilson signing definitely led them with some sort of a signer's remorse. They could maybe get a chance to flip that for some sort of compensation and give Cedric an opportunity elsewhere. That's what I think is the win-win-win. As long as the compensation could be somewhat decent, he goes to an NFC team. You don't see him for a couple of years, if ever. That's what I do.
Question: I fully predict to see him this year. Do we play the Texans this year?
I don't believe so.
No. Okay. No. All right. Well, maybe there's a 50-50 shot we don't see him if he goes there. But ultimately, I don't think Cedric's on this roster. And if I'm honest with myself, he ends up in one of two places: Houston or Dallas are the two places I think he ends up.
I like the Houston prediction because he did play for Dallas. So Dallas bringing him back would almost be like, selling your computer to a pawn shop and then going back a little later and spending more money to buy it back. So I don't know if they would do that, but I wouldn't be shocked knowing that he can go back to where he
is the familiarity. Say that 5 times fast. With Dak Prescott and that offensive scheme. I think it would make too much sense for him to go back to Dallas.
On field, it makes sense. From GM financial, it just kind of seems, I guess, a little weird, but weirder things.
Not like Jerry Jones hasn't done stupid stuff before.
Exactly. Weirder things have definitely happened.
All right. 1 and 2, too easy. Jalen and Tyreek. We'll just talk about them as a pair, just so we can move on to the next group. But I guess my question is to you: do they put up the same numbers that they did last year? And what do you see as far as production from them this year?
We love numbers, and not just Dolphin fans. Everyone these days, it's the fantasy football issue. It's about wins this year. Obviously, stats help wins, blah, blah, blah. Will they put up record-breaking franchise statistics? I hope so. Do I care much more about just getting W's, distributing the ball to maybe 2 or 3 other players? Because last year, 85% of the targets went to those 2 guys, essentially. So do they have the same exact stats? Maybe not in all the Triple Crown areas of catches, yardage, touchdowns. Make first downs, no drops, catch the passes you're supposed to. They're going to do that. And there's just some more skill position players who could dilute their stats, especially you mentioned a Berrios, a rookie in Achane who could take a little bit of receptions away out of the backfield. Elijah Higgins, they're trying to get him into a wide receiver, tight end hybrid role. So there's more plates and mouths to feed. And with the defense that the Dolphins are constructing, along with the better return game, there could just be less field to work with, which is a good thing to have for W's. Short of the long, I don't care as much as most about stats, So if they're not,
do you think Tyreek Hill cares about stats or Jalen Waddle does?
I think, it's really tough to ask or to jump into these guys' heads. I think everyone on that Dolphins team wants to win, So if you ask a Tyreek Hill point blank, 1,700 yards, 12 touchdowns, no playoff win, or 1,400, 8 touchdowns, and a Super Bowl appearance, that's a no-brainer. That's like a no-brainer. And I said Super Bowl appearance, not win.
I'll say this, Jace. If I'm honest with you, man, I don't see Tyreek Hill getting 1,900 yards again.
Neither do I, which is it's not bad.
And the reason for it is the running back situation, especially if Dalvin Cook comes to fruition.
Right.
Especially if Dalvin Cook comes to fruition.
Right.
What I would like to see out of those guys is more touchdowns.
Yes.
I'd like to see more touchdowns. Forget the yards. I'd like to see more touchdowns. I think that if the touchdowns, whether they get 1,000, I think both of them will get over 1,000 yards again. No questions asked. Okay. Barring, as long as they stay healthy, which I fully expect and believe that they will, they'll both get over 1,000 yards. And with that being said, knock on wood too, by the way. And with that being said, I will also say that the run game itself, whether Dalvin's there or not, is going to be implemented as more of a importance, a subject of importance for McDaniel this year, because he has said as such in his press conferences. Need to run the ball more. Need to stick with running the ball more. Need to not abandon the run right away. So I think that runs will go up. Rushing attempts will go up this year, no matter who's in the backfield. But it definitely makes more sense that it'll happen if Dalvin's here. And I don't think that could Waddle get more than 1,300 yards. I predict both of them will get over 1,200 yards this year.
Well, breaking down both of them, they've had about just under 200 targets combined. Overall, Dolphins targeted 368 total pass catchers. So basically, no one had over 30 targets if your name wasn't Tyreek and Jalen. That is a remarkable disparity. Take out Trent Sherfield, who was the next leader wide receiver-wise in targets with 30. And then, believe it or not, take a wild guess who the fourth most targeted Dolphin was last year. If you want to
River Craycraft.
No. Take another guess. You got it.
Wow.
So you're looking at a guy who wasn't utilized in an offense, who didn't even play a pass-catching receiver position a lot because he was a tight end out of body, and he was the fourth leading targeted receiver on the Dolphins last year. So that's odd. You're not going to see 17 or 18 or 1,900 yards from Tyreek Hill. What I would like to see is double-digit touchdowns from either or both, as you mentioned. If Tua is going to throw touchdown passes, because I don't care where you are on the field, touchdown passes are more, directly correlated to your wins. I don't care if you're building your stats, if you're down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. You know what I'm saying? So I would have no problem if they combined for those 2,800 yards, 2,500 yards even, but you got to get teens combined touchdowns, high teens.
Yep.
If they can get, Hill could be 12, Waddle could be 7 or 8 to even approach 20. Yeah, that's what you want. You want 20 some odd touchdowns combined from them. And you want, when they're covered, Berrios, hopefully Azukama. You want these guys to be targeted or Craycraft. And when we get to start talking about the tight ends, those guys got to step up too. But gaudy stats individually, maybe not, but combined and putting points on the board, efficient. Yeah, that's what they'll bring.
Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. Hit the like button. Hit it. Hit the like button right now, you fools. I'm not playing with y'all. Hit it. Smack it. Whatever you got to do to it. It helps the channel grow. Make sure you hit the like button. All right. I'm going to skip over the offensive line and save that for the last part of the conversation.
Good move.
Offensive side. Let's stay with the positions here. We'll go to running back. I want to go to running back. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devon Achane, Salvin Ahmed, Myles Gaskin, Chris Brooks, and then even in the fullback positions, you got John Lovett and Alec Ingold. So let's start with the fullbacks. We'll start with the fullbacks here. John Lovett and Alec Ingold. What are your thoughts of these two guys? And, what type? Remember last year, Alec Ingold played a lot from the tight end
spot too. Yep.
So does Lovett have a chance to make this squad over Ingold with understanding what's in the backfield already? And the potential for maybe one additional person in the backfield that could be on his way. What are your thoughts about John Lovett and Alec Ingold?
Yeah, I like Lovett as a camp body. Again, you like his ability to, he's like a tough blocker. Yeah, you like his football intangibles. He's just basically another practice squad player. He's not gonna jump over Alec Ingold, who, like you mentioned, plays some tight end.
I would love to hide him on the practice squad if we could.
I don't think. Look, you can't discount other teams having the same kind of conversations that we're having, loving these lower end roster guys or practice squad players, undrafted. So they have their own love it. So if we can stash him, hopefully he's not a player that's taken, but fullback is a position that isn't accounted for on all 32 teams per se. So I think we can stash Lovett comfortably. And Ingold is a very valuable unheralded player on this team. Unheralded kind of superstar without being a superstar. He's very valuable and important. And he played with a broken hand last year.
He played with a broken hand last year. Here's my thought about Alec Ingold. Alec Ingold will have more touchdowns this year, and will have more receptions this year, and will have more rushes this year. All of those will go up this year for him.
Hey,
and that's not hard to do, considering he had a broken hand last year. I'm just saying that McDaniel, with a healthy hand, is going to involve him in the offense more.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when we start talking about the tight ends, because the tight end position is going to get used a lot differently than what it did last year because Gesicki's not here anymore. So
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
So Alec Ingold will play less at the tight end position. I'm not saying he's not going to. I'm just saying he's going to play less snaps at the tight end position than what he did last year. And he's going to be able to get a few more carries, especially on those 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts. And yeah, man, I like Alec Ingold a lot. I think he's going to play a huge role, a lot more than what I'm telling you. I see Alec Ingold minimum making a game-winning play for us somewhere, whether that be converting a first down somewhere when we need to at the end of a game, whether that be a goal line stance and getting a touchdown when we need it, whether that be, you know, making a block so that Tua has an extra 5 seconds to throw a touchdown. He is like, I'm telling you right now, I love Alec Ingold, and I'm so happy his hand is healed, and I think he's going to make a huge difference on this roster this year.
I agree with you. And if you want to just look at how these guys are creatively used, Ingold scored a touchdown with a broken hand via rushing and receiving this year. And Durham Smythe did the same thing. Remember those direct snaps that each of those guys took? So when you add in, and he didn't play the whole season with a broken hand, I realize that. But Ingold is a fun player. You could line him up as a fullback. They could put him in motion, and they could turn into a boom, 22 personnel like that. And then you have 2 tight ends lined up if you want to support one of the sides or send one of these guys out, keep one of them in. There's so many things that you can do.
And he can block. He
could block. And there will be more receptions for him, I would believe, when he has 2 mitts to use in catching. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And he should have a solid year. He scored a touchdown in every single year he's played in the NFL.
Well,
for a fullback, that ain't bad.
He's going to get a couple of them this year. Mark my words, minimum. All right, let's go to the first undrafted free agent that we have in here, Chris Brooks. Chris Brooks is an undrafted free agent. What can you tell us about Chris Brooks, and where do you see him? He's not making the squad. I'm convinced of that, but he's a running back with speed from BYU.
Yep.
And he fits the mold of what McDaniel likes in a running back. Is he somebody that will make an impact in preseason? Do you want him to make an impact? Let's talk about this real quick too, while talking about him. Understanding what type of offense McDaniel wants to run and everything that we do. Do you think head coaches don't play particular players in preseason because they want to stash them on the practice squad and not let other teams get film on them?
Who knows? I can't discount it. Listen, there's this day and age, there is so much film digitized on all these players that before they even get to an NFL team, a lot of these scouts know a good amount about them. So whether they want to be stashed on a pro roster to hopefully get them through the process, potentially, but through the rules of the NFL, if there's a guy that gets dangled, even if there's no immediate film, there's tons of GMs or coaches out there who I'm probably guessing are waiting for certain players to be cut just to see if their assumption a couple of months ago may be right. Get them in camp, get them in our camp. Let's see what we can do with them. Because remember, a lot of these teams have just completely different systems, completely different jobs that they could assign to these individuals. So he's a home run hitter. I mean, he had a terrific yards per carry average, mid sixes, 6.5, I believe it was, or 6.2. But he had a good year, a good season with BYU, a good career. He's almost like Zakondre White from last year. We'll love the fact that he could show some flashes potentially, but he's nothing more than a practice squad player, or he might end up somewhere else.
We'll have to see. I thoroughly am going to look forward towards the opportunity of seeing what happens with him, as far as for the simple fact of, if McDaniel likes a player, how does he go about stashing him in the practice squad.
Special teams. You throw him on special teams.
There's three ways, right? I don't see him making the 53-man. Just want to throw that out there, this Chris Brooks. But I think he's somebody that McDaniel likes. And McDaniel, I don't know if would be risking for him to have a 100-yard game and a touchdown game in preseason, and now all of a sudden he's on other teams' radars. I don't think he's on anybody's radar right now. And I'm not saying the kid is not anything to write home about. I'm just saying I know McDaniel likes him. And understanding that McDaniel likes him, I'd be interested to see how this works. And what I will also say from that standpoint, too, is what does training camp and inter-squad practices look like? Because we're going to be having a couple of inter-squad practices again. And what does that look like? Am I going to hear Chris's Brooks name a couple of times? He's somebody that I'm going to look out for. I don't think he's going to make the squad in any way, shape, or form. I just want to see how McDaniel goes about handling a guy like this, because it'll be an indicator on how he handles names with bigger talent in the future.
If Dalvin Cook's brought in and they have to send someone in that room out, it will be him.
He'll be the first to go.
He'll be the first to go. So he's someone.
But if he gets a chance to be in training camp,
practice squad-ish kind of player, but gun to head, is he a Dolphin in one way, shape, or form in 10 months? No,
and I've said that as much. I just say if he gets an opportunity to be in training camp and play in a couple of preseason games, I'm interested to see how McDaniel utilizes him, because it'll be an indicator for me on how he goes about stashing talent in the future with undrafted free agents that might not be ready for the NFL yet, but McDaniel likes them. So that's all I'm saying. That's all.
If I had to take a complete guess, I would think you bring in Cook, you send out Gaskin, because that would be an expendable situation there from a full-time roster, and you try to keep Brooks on the practice squad. Because you do need a running back on the practice squad.
Gaskin is not making our practice squad, and he'll be lucky to make the 53 because of the depth chart currently designed as
correct. And Ahmed, I think, is a better runner.
I love Miles. Don't get me wrong, as far as what he's done for the Dolphins in the past, and I appreciate his tenure here, and he's great locker room guy. Miles Gaskin for me is somebody that I think is very similar to Kalen Ballage. Now, he's much more talented, in my opinion, than Kalen Ballage is, but I think his career trajectory will turn out the same way. He'll go somewhere. He'll be on their team for a little bit, maybe even get an opportunity. Like Kalen, people don't remember, he went to the Chargers and was the number one back there because of an injury there for like 5 or 6 games. Now, he didn't do anything, but nonetheless, he was there. And he got a buttload of carries for like 5 games. He didn't make the most of his opportunity, hence why he's not in the NFL. I think Kalen Ballage is in the XFL, to be perfectly honest, or the USFL, one of those.
Ballage was a bad runner, and there was really no other aspect of his game. Yeah. Gaskins isn't the greatest runner. He could help out of the backfield and receiving, decent pass blocker, but I understand what you're saying with the trajectory. It's not going to work out long-term in Miami, and if he doesn't find the right fit next, it could just be
he might not get a chance anymore.
That's
how it works out. Because he is talented and he's good enough to play in the NFL, but sometimes it's about where you are and the opportunities you get, and I don't think that's here. Let's go to Salvon Ahmed. Salvon is absolutely amazing. I love the kid. Coming from San Francisco, playing the last couple of years here, or last year here. I like Ahmed a lot. And I think that even if Dalvin Cook comes here, he's still making this squad, and there'll be 5 running backs in the room next year. They had 5 running backs breaking camp last year. There's no reason to think that it won't happen this year.
It's not out of the realm because Achane, you could really pin as a triple threat kind of guy. Achane's a guy who might even rack up so much total yardage from returns, receiving, rushing. So you might be able to get away with that. There's no chance both Ahmed and Gaskin are making the full-time roster together with what they're potentially doing
with Dalvin Cook.
Right. So Ahmed is a guy who was, signed as an undrafted. He's done nicely for.
If I'm correct,
the opportunity.
Ahmed has got 500,000 coming his way, guaranteed. It's either Gaskins or him. One of them.
Ahmed, I believe, has more money guaranteed. That's why Gaskin's the first one.
Gaskin has no money guaranteed, if I'm correct, and
Right.
Ahmed has like 300 to 500,000 guaranteed. I think Ahmed's making this team no matter what.
I would like him to make the team. Absolutely. I think he's the last guy.
He plays special teams. He's a good player.
And like Azukama, he just might be a guy that might not necessarily be available every week and dress every single week.
Correct.
He was probably inactive 5-6 games last year, 7 games, but we'll see about that. 53. And he averaged over 5 yards per carry when he got the opportunity. So yes, gun to head, I think he makes
opportunities. He makes the most of them, and I like the kid a lot. I'm telling you right now, Ahmed is making this 53.
He's on my roster at the moment.
Yeah.
He's within that 50.
Devon Achane, young kid, didn't expect the Dolphins to go there in the draft. They did. They got a lot invested into him as a, high round draft pick, in my opinion, for them. And I'm telling you right now, he makes the team, and he makes a big impact on this team because McDaniel's going to give him the opportunity to. Now, is it going to translate to success? We're going to have to wait and see. But nonetheless, he's going to get an opportunity to be here.
My I guess, call it an outlandish call. And this is not a crazy statistic when you really think about the people who have done it before and just what I'm talking about here. He could finish as a rookie the Dolphins rookie leader in all-purpose yards for a rookie season. The last one to do that was Ted Ginn. But I do truly believe that between all the ways that the ball could be in his hands with returns, both ways in terms of rushing the ball and getting some passes out of the backfield, he's going to gain a lot of yardage for this team.
I'm excited about him. I'm excited about his speed. And hence the reason he's here, because that's what McDaniel wants to utilize him for. My question to you is this, Jason. Does he jump Jeff Wilson on the depth chart at all this year?
Different jobs.
I agree.
Different jobs. I mean, that's the thing here. It's like we love talking about starters and depth charts. Baseball, you could talk starters, because if you're not the starting second baseman, you're not seeing a lot of playing time. You maybe going to be a pinch hitter or whatever. Soccer, same idea. Starters are extremely important in those sports, but for a team like football, the depth chart, the starters, it's roles, it's situations. You know what? You're 3rd and 2, you're 3rd and 3. It's either Dalvin Cook or Jeff Wilson that you want running through the middle. You know what I mean? If you're looking for just those long, a lot of field left, you're looking at Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, who's going to get you those yardage. But once you're moving closer and the field is shrinking, you need those kind of power-ish backs. And right now it's Wilson among the group. And hopefully you could bring in Dalvin Cook for that. But if you need short yardage, Achane might not be your guy. But if it's 2nd and 6 and you want to do a little tricky play and throw a little screen, out of the backfield, or even have Achane be in the slot and throw a little screen that way to him, absolutely, I think we're going to get a lot of creativity there with him. Or your traditional tosses or outside runs outside of the tackle box.
I think that when it's all said and done, looking at what he's able to offer to the team, Achane's going to be a big person that makes an impact on this team. I think we both agree on that. And I think Jeff Wilson, to go to him, Jeff Wilson is somebody that is going to be, looking at Jeff Wilson and what he can contribute to this roster. Whether Dalvin comes here or not, he definitely showed when it was time that he was better than Chase Edmonds, and he just filled that role really nicely. And so I would think that Jeff Wilson's going to be getting a lot of playing time again. He's somebody that excites me. He's got the relationship with McDaniel. A lot of San Francisco people on this depth chart. Just want to show you that. And the next two people we're going to talk about, obviously coming from San Francisco. All the running backs actually are former, almost all the running backs. Ahmed, San Francisco, Jeff Wilson, San Francisco, Raheem Mostert, San Francisco, because McDaniel knows what he wants in these guys. Now, what I am interested to know is somebody like Achane he's the first person that McDaniel's kind of brought in that's not a San Francisco guy that fits the mold of what he's looking for. And so Achane is now the teacher's pet, right? He's all, McDaniel's excited to mold this kid to, now I've gotten my guy. This isn't somebody that, San Francisco, those are his guys, but he didn't find them. He found Achane, right? And so it'll be interesting to see how that works with Jeff Wilson in the depth chart too. I'm going to be real. I think if barring injury, I don't know how many opportunities Jeff Wilson's going to get this year because of Achane. And Jeff Wilson's going to make the team, and I want everybody to be healthy. But if Achane is anything like we think he can be, I think he jumps Jeff Wilson on the depth chart and gets more opportunities than he does.
With me in a room like this, it's completely a committee. I would like 25 plus, right? If you're going into a game where you should win and the Dolphins get off to, a quick lead between this defense and the freshness of potentially 4 or 5 runners, there should be 25 carries amongst them at the very least, running this clock out in the fourth quarter. So between those guys, you're going to have different down distant time scenarios and circumstances where they're each being utilized. I humbly believe, I truly believe. And if you do bring in, I want to mention in his name for another time, Scott, Dalvin Cook. If you bring that person in because it's all over the place and it makes complete sense, he's also a guy that's going to get factored into the committee. It's a committee. It's a good one. Guys doing all things in aggregate to make it a pretty solid potential backfield.
Here's what I'll say about the Dalvin Cook situation.
13, thank you. Lucky number 13.
Dalvin Cook, there's it's not just fan rumors.
14.
They're real legit confirmed rumors from people.
It's beyond that at this point.
And by the way, it's even exactly because the Dolphins even confirmed that they talked to Minnesota, that they had trade discussions. So that happened. It didn't work out. But we know the Dolphins are interested. Dalvin's from South Florida. His agent came on our show and basically said at the end of it, hey, look,
wink,
I need to get my bathing suit. I need to get my swimming trunk ready for South Florida with the logo of my company up there for the games that I'll be going to this year.
And just for a 16th time to say Dalvin, it's very easy when you look at the timing of the things with the June 1st scenario or the money that the Vikings could save or not with a trade versus a cut. We announced as a Dolphin organization that Byron Jones was going to be cut months ago. But they just come out and said that. It's not out of the realm of possibility that other teams could do that with other scenarios too. There is no chance in my mind that the Vikings aren't trying in any way, shape, or form to save $2 million in both salary cap and saving in dead cap. So it's basically a $4 million swing if they deal Dalvin June 1st at 12:01 a.m. If they cut him, they're sacrificing money. So this means that if you trade a Noah Igbenogany for him, they save $4 million. They take on Noah, so net they're making out $2 million better than they would by cutting him. So that's the point of why we keep on bringing up what is, I would say, 90% a certainty. Another team could blow them out of the water, the Dolphins, with a potential move.
Yeah,
and say, we really want
100% set in
correct.
Stone.
I'm saying 90.
Saying that another team in the 12th hour doesn't come in just like you're saying and
correct.
Swoons in and says, "Oh my God, Dalvin, we got to have you. Here's all this money."
And this is why the Vikings haven't come out. I mean, look, you have a couple of people on Twitter saying that they believe or they've heard, but until the big dogs, the Schefters, the Rappaports, or it's on the news that the Minnesota Vikings have cut ties or have designated the fact that on June 1st, they will move away from Dalvin Cook. They're still trying to recoup anything that they can to potentially move him.
There could be a last-minute trade. Don't get it twisted.
That's what I'm exactly.
There's also stuff like they took him off all the promo stuff on their website.
He will not be a Viking.
He will not be a Viking.
It's just a matter of
guaranteeing that
what the particulars are. If at the end of the day they have to say we can't do it, no team's going to take on the salary in a trade because they can't renegotiate a new deal, we're going to cut him. And that's when
he is currently in South Florida.
Of course he is. He's training with Nick Hicks. Nick Everyone, it is so blatant that it would actually be a quite shocking scenario if
he doesn't come to the Dolphins.
Yeah. Worst kept secret in football right now.
I would 100% concur with you. So adding into this real quick, just to finish on the running backs. We're both assuming Dalvin Cook's going to be here. Not 100% set in stone. We're assuming that it's going to happen. If Dalvin Cook does come here, we're going to play two scenarios. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Achane, and Achane. Achane makes this team no matter what, even if Dalvin Cook is here. And if Dalvin Cook doesn't come here, Myles Gaskin will still have an opportunity to make this team as the fifth running back. Would you agree with that?
At the exact moment. See, I can't judge a guy like a Brooks until the pads come on. I see how he runs. So, yeah, that's the exact moment, yes.
Brooks could overtake Gaskin if Brooks,
He's also gaining those yardage at BYU. Not a Power 5 runner. So, and
if he plays good on special teams, too. Remember, special teams is a way for somebody to
1,000%. I'm always on. If
we'll put Chris Brooks on our radar. And just
put him on the special teams radar. Absolutely.
100%. All right, let's go to the tight end room. We'll start with Julian Hill. Julian Hill is an undrafted free agent out of Campbell. He is about 6'4", 247 pounds. That's about all I know about Julian Hill, man. Ultimately, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the tight end room. I fully expected the Dolphins to be a lot more aggressive when it comes to the tight end room. And I'm not sold on Elijah Higgins at all yet. And we'll get to Elijah here in a few. But Julian Hill, do you know anything about him? If not,
bit, small school athlete, played a little quarterback in high school, good athleticism in hands, a little undersized for the tight end, pure prototypical position at 6'4". He's probably right in the middle of those six tight ends in terms of height. You got guys like Smythe 6'6". You got Kraft and Salburn around 6'5", and Higgins in here on the shorter end. But they're more of those kind of hybridish players that McDaniel likes to utilize. So this is not. Look, you also have a guy like a Tanner Connor who was on last year's. Who was an undrafted free agent last year who made the cut. So. Was a guy who might have been selected in the 7th round, so the Dolphins got good value as an undrafted potential body, but I can't see him making the roster, but I could see him as a guy that, again, we have 16 of these potential developmental player on the practice squad.
I agree. I think, let's see what he does in training camp. Next up is Tanner Connor. Tanner Connor, somebody that's very well liked in the organization, or at least we assume so. On the depth chart here, they have Elijah Higgins listed ahead of him, which is very interesting. But what are your thoughts about Tanner Connor? And do you see the Dolphins, is he going to be on the 53? How does he make this? Because at the moment on this depth chart, they have Tyler Kroft and Elijah Higgins ahead of him.
Kroft is a guy who again, earlier in the show, I said, depending on the depth chart, depending on the roster that you're looking at, he could be called a wide receiver in some sites or in some way, shape, or form. So lump him in the competition of a Julian Hill and an Elijah Higgins. Your Durham Smythe is your only guy who could do both things situation and be a receiver and be a blocker. And then you got Salbert and Kroft, who are really more specializing in the pass protection aspects. The younger guys, including Tanner Connor, hybrid-ish, so think more receiving than standard inline blocking. So this room has certain jobs and molds for each of these players as well.
Well, one of the things that I'm excited about with Tanner is to see how much playing time he gets in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it'll be a good indicator on how the team views him. If he's somebody that doesn't get a lot of playing time, we can fully expect that Elijah Higgins and Tyler Kroft are going to be the guys that will get the rest of those snaps. I don't think Connor makes the team. I'm throwing that out there now.
It's not a shock to me. He's where he is. He's on my bubble. Like I don't have him as part of the 50. He's on the bubble.
But to be fair, they had 5 tight ends breaking camp last year, but I think they had that because they didn't want to get rid of Connor.
Right. And they had the practice squad eligibility.
And they had the practice squad eligibility. And they had Gesicki there. Otherwise, they would have kept him on 4. And with Gesicki gone, I don't think they have to keep 5 tight ends.
I agree, and I don't believe that Tanner Connor is a practice squad eligible player because he dressed 13 times. I don't know if that's accrued him out of practice squad eligibility, but yeah, he's on the bubble for me. He's not on my 50 right now.
He's on the bubble. Yep. All right, Elijah Higgins. What are your thoughts about him? I got to be perfectly honest. Most disappointing draft pick for me this draft, and most surprising one, head scratcher. What do you think about Elijah Higgins, and how do you think he will, work out as a tight end in the NFL?
Think if we're Dolphin fans thinking of what type of player that we're going to really hope that he becomes, I think he was drafted to be what Charles Clay was when he really was at his best for both the Dolphins and the Bills. Kind of a hybrid tight end, both 6'3", both could be very good pass and run blocking players in this offense. Could line up a little as kind of that H, tight end, or kind of that hybrid aspect tight end. So undersized, not your 6'6", 6'7", top 5 or 6 tight ends that everybody was hoping for. But he could assume a little bit of a Trent Sherfield-ish role if you're thinking of that aspect of the wide receiver hybrid. And then, like I mentioned, from about 8-9 years ago, Charles Clay. I like Charles Clay as a guy who is just a nitty-gritty, good pass blocking, good rush blocking tight end who could contribute, targeting him 50, 60 times. And that's where I think we're heading with Higgins. I'll agree with you that if there were 4 draft picks, which there were, he's my 4th favorite, if that makes sense.
He is definitely my 4th favorite.
And Ryan Hayes is not a very heavy 3rd favorite. Let me throw that out there. But, we only had 4 picks. So
yeah, look, Elijah Higgins for me is somebody that you need to show me, my guy.
Yes.
You need to show me why McDaniel and Chris Greer got you, because we talk about the money that we have to pay these draft picks. I don't know if Ryan Hayes and Elijah Higgins make the team. So if
you're not wrong.
That's irrelevant in my opinion. All you got to do is worry about is Achane and Cam Smith, and paying those guys. And Cam will get a nice little contract, and Achane will probably get paid whatever the minimum is they can pay for a 3rd round draft pick at his position.
I'm fine with you saying that. And these draft picks aren't technically signed. Yet. So yeah, Hayes and Higgins have no carte blanche, red carpet to this roster. They need to really perform. So especially when you're looking at a guy in Higgins.
Cam Smith will get paid.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He'll get paid good money, but Achane's not. And
no.
The other 2 guys aren't making the team, so it's irrelevant. So
Cam Smith, I think, to me, the more I look into why he was the pick, I like it more and more. But
I love Cam Smith's gonna. We'll get to the defense another time, but I'm telling you right now that kid is good stuff. All right, Tyler Kroft, man, getting into Tyler Kroft, another guy from San Francisco. McDaniel loves these guys from San Fran. What do you think about Tyler Kroft, and how do you think ultimately he makes this team?
I don't. He reminds me in a different position. He's not popular. He's a name that we know. He's been around the league. Remember Mohamed Sanu? We signed Mohamed Sanu as a receiver last year. Oh, great, we got a veteran. Can't body. I don't think he's going to leapfrog anybody else who has a higher ceiling. I I just can't see him making the roster unless McDaniel just values his knowledge or his ability to kind of just not have to learn as much as some of these potential other younger kids. But I have him 4 or 5 best scenario right now in this room.
Yeah,
because I love Eric Saubert, who we'll talk about in terms of the pure blocking ability, and that's what we need.
It's either going to be Tyler Kroft or Tanner Connor.
Right. I agree with you fully there. I'd keep Connor if I have to keep one.
I don't know enough about Tyler to make that decision yet.
Journeyman tight end who hasn't,
I got that, but
there's
a reason that he's here.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Eric Saubert from Denver. The numbers don't show anything, but you know what does? The snap count. Snap count shows a lot of the times that he was to play, and it's somebody that, in my opinion, he's a good blocker. From the video that I've seen and watched, this kid can block, and ultimately that's what the Dolphins are looking for in a tight end, and Eric Saubert fits that mold. Eric Saubert, is he tight end number 1?
No.
Or is he tight end number 2?
Again, I hate in this room saying TA1, TE2, whatever. Durham Smythe is your guy who's going to get the most targets. Let's just call it that. And
yeah, but you're not utilizing. There might be 1 or 2 plays a game that get utilized towards the tight end, right?
I mean, look, Saubert's a guy. He's only hitting around 25% of the snap counts. He's not going to play 3 downs. He's just not. So you could set up in personnel packages with both of them, have him stay home, have Smythe be the guy to go out to, as a target. So you could also have Saubert help out on one of the ends to just be as the tight end one, with the lone tight end being in there as him just blocking and helping runners. So it'll be interesting, but I do think that Smythe will be snap count reception leader, target leader, but Saubert's definitely going to be involved. I would hope 40%.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it'll be, interesting to kind of see where that goes with him. Durham Smythe, I said a couple years ago, love the kid, think he has the possibility of being a tight end 1. I know you don't like putting the tight end 1 label on it. I hear you. But I do think he will get the majority of the snaps from him. And ultimately, I think that, I think ultimately it will be something that, will play a factor into how tight ends are utilized in this offense with Mike McDaniel. And so for me, Durham Smythe, we're going to get to see what he's really about this season. Is he what we all thought he could be or not? And we're going to have to look. We're going to have to see.
I mean, I like Smythe because I think he has the least pressure on him versus the job that he's proven that he could do. And that's just do a decent job at the position. He's got a 77% catch percentage for his career. He makes a lot of first downs. He rarely makes mistakes, I would love to have this be an escalation year from. I could see the best case scenario, call him a Cameron Brate, and I think I'd be happy with that.
Cameron Brate is a good similarity. I like that.
Give me Cameron Brate on a team that doesn't need him to be, Rob Gronkowski, works for me.
As long as he's not Aaron Hernandez, we're really good.
Oh boy, that's a name I didn't expect.
Bam!
Oh, two bad sound effects with that name. My God.
Too soon. It's always too soon with that one. All right, that was a bad joke. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show. Clock Blockers. Guys, hit the like button. Only 34 likes, 75 y'all in the room. Donate to the channel. Help the channel grow. It's Spread Kindness Friday. All right, let's go to, we said we'd save the offensive line for last. Let's go to the quarterback room. We got to go to the quarterback room. Got to talk about it. I'm sure it's going to get everybody wound up, but, why not? It's Spread Kindness Friday. Let's start out with James Blackman, man. James Blackman.
Practice squad.
The practice squad. Player. I get that. I understand. But, we got to talk about him. We're talking about everybody here, right? So, he's from Arkansas State. A lot to like about the kid. He's somebody for me that, and what the Dolphins can do with a backup tight end or a backup quarterback. Backup quarterback. They can stash a good player on the practice squad, and he can be somebody that can make a difference down the road. God forbid it ever comes to that, right? Knock on wood. My hope is we never have to see James Blackman in a Miami Dolphins uniform playing on Sunday. If it comes to that, shit went horribly wrong. Yes, I cussed, but I'm telling y'all right now, it went wrong if we see James Blackman. I like the kid. He's definitely not going to be on a Miami Dolphins roster, though, next year.
I mean, you don't need to practice squad him. You don't, because you got 3 quarterbacks on this roster that will be rostered. You don't need any more development because that's you have that. I mean, you got Tua, you have the guy who's going to win the backup, and then you got some guy to develop. So that your quarterback room is fine.
I think you're wrong about that, Jason. Seeing what happened with San Fran last year and that whole ordeal, I think every team should have a quarterback on the practice squad.
So throw him on the practice squad. I'll be fine with that. Because remember, quarterback, you could also scrap heap it to, you reach the net rule, bring somebody back midway through. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying. You make a good point with San Francisco and what they went through.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you got to have a practice squad quarterback who knows your playbook, who understands it, because the last thing you want is to get into something where you're in the Denver Broncos situation 2 years ago. And, then you have a wide receiver that has to start at quarterback in an NFL game. How stupid was that? Like that was outrageous, Jason. That was
you need to dress 3 quarterbacks.
That the NFL allowed that to happen.
I agree. Listen, if it was up to me, I would add 2 more people to a full-time roster. I'd add another round to the draft. There's just too much talent out there, So I would love to add a little bit more to the mix. But
the NFL at one point had 12 rounds, 13 rounds. I don't know if I want more than 7.
Mark Clayton was an 8th round draft pick, believe it or not.
So Mark Clayton would have been an undrafted free agent in today's NFL.
That is correct.
Wow. Interesting. I did not know that.
8th round.
All right. Skylar. Start with Skylar Thompson, man. Skylar Thompson got a chance to play last year. A lot of us like him. If your name is Pete, you love him. You think he's the, I'll say this about Skylar. Above average quarterback. Still developing. And this, I don't know what his ceiling is, to be honest and fair with you. I don't. But I don't want him to be the number 2, let alone the number 1. Don't want him to be the number 2 next year. I hope Mike White surpasses that. But he played in a playoff game last year, and he played admirably. Admirably.
Here,
I can't say these words, Jason, today. Andrevius is in the chat, and I'm getting scared about saying words wrong because he's judging me on how I say words, Jason.
This show, in my experience, I don't think anybody does any judging. But moving forward, and hey, the chat room's loving. The chat's blowing up in a positive way. So good work, guys. But we're all about fun today. But Skylar was not supposed to see the light of day last year because remember last year we signed Teddy Bridgewater. What an amazing backup quarterback, right?
Yep.
Oops. Let's go back and do a little dissecting of this. Going back to that Jet game where Teddy was supposed to just go through the motions. The NFL threw a horrible wrench in that game by spotting the fact that maybe he's in concussion protocol. So you have a 7th round rookie quarterback who was supposed to be a 3rd stringer thrusted in, because that game he really was not prepared to go in on the first series. He was prepared to be an emergency backup, right? Now, what he also did throughout his other random starts, could I be confident in him that he could be one of the better backups in the NFL? No. Did he win a game when he needed to help us get into the playoffs? Sure. Was that a little bit more outside the quarterback position? Sure. But I like Skylar for what he did and for what he is advertised as. Again, a 7th round rookie quarterback who should be a team's 3rd stringer. Now, in 3, 4, 5 years, could he get an opportunity to exceed that? I don't want to see it happen on this team because that would mean some other bad things are happening. So my point is, I like the kid as a third string quarterback because that's what he is. Third string quarterback.
Sorry, I'm playing principal in the chat.
It's okay.
I try to tell y'all, I try to do 5 things at once. Nobody wants to believe that. I'm like trying to see the chat, host the show, make sure things are working, check everything. Okay. Here's the thing about Skylar. I like him. I want to have 3 quarterbacks next year. I think every team should have 3 quarterbacks next year. God forbid it comes to him playing, and I do mean God forbid.
Right.
I'm never, there is nobody on this roster that makes me think I have zero hope. Is it slim hope? Yes.
What do you mean? Wait.
Zero hope. God forbid, I hate saying this. If Tua goes down with an injury and Mike White doesn't pan out, and it comes to Skylar, I still think there's an outside shot or an outside chance that Skylar could still do something because we don't know everything that's happened, or we don't know what he can be. We don't know his ceiling yet. We see what he is now, but we can all agree that he surpassed his expectation his rookie year. Surpassed it. He wasn't even supposed to make the roster. And he came out of training camp and we were like, we got to keep him. He has to make the roster. We all said that. So, and I think that as the season progressed, he made some really good things. Steven, don't ignore me. You said Skylar is above average. Who the hell are average quarterbacks then? I'll get to that. I can't. Let me finish my statement. I'm not ignoring your question. What I will tell you is I believe that Skylar, if he comes to it, maybe there's a 5% chance we succeed. It's not a big one, but it's never zero. My blanket statement was, if any of the quarterbacks are in the game, I do not have a 0% chance of faith. I have some faith. Not a lot, but some. I do. Point blank. Pete Steak says Skylar quarterback 1 with his $10 donation.
Well, thank you for that.
I don't know about that.
Don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Don't know about that.
Who are average quarterbacks? So all right, let me reiterate what my statement was. I said he is an above average quarterback for what he is.
Correct. He came in above advertising.
That's how I meant it to come in.
I think I know what you meant. And you basically said, if you're gonna say, did he over exceed or under exceed expectations for a 7th round drafted rookie quarterback? Say that he did because he got a W. You should not be on the field if you're a 7th round quarterback with a player like Tua who should be on it most of the game.
I don't think look, if I had to grade him on TD, I like TD's grading skill, average, above average, really good. I know the way that he does his grading skill, but which I think is a really good grading skill, by the way, scale. At least how it's the pure definition and basis of it. Do I like where he puts those quarterbacks in his grading scale? Not so much, but I like the grading skill nonetheless. If I had to put Skylar on a scale or a measuring stick like TD's grading scale, he's probably below average. But for where he's at in his career and what he came into, you have to say he's above average. He's exceeded expectations that were expected of him. And he showed some really bright spots last year. He also showed some bad ones. But for just as Jason just said, for a 7th round rookie quarterback, the kid was okay.
When watching him play, there's one aspect of his game that I really happen to like. It's a small aspect. I like his play action passing. I think he's very, very fundamentally sound in that regard. So I think if you give him 1 or 2 more years of just development where, if we don't see him throw one pass this year, massive success.
I would love to see him not throw one pass.
Massive success, because that means one of two things. It means that Tua didn't need to come out of the game or played every single snap, or Mike White handled his business when he needed to. So I am interested in seeing.
Let's go to Mike White. Mike White is next on our list. Yeah. Let's go to Mike White. Let's segue to him because Mike White is next. Mike White, coming from the Jets, had some really good, really, really good games last year, and also had some times where he looked really, really bad. Now, is that because of the team that he played for? I don't know. But what I will say is I like Mike White. I think he's going to fit well in this offense, and he's playing on a hell of a lot better offense than he ever had, remotely had in the Jets. Would you agree?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, now he comes to an offense not, with all those young guys all around him. He's got some veterans. He's got some really terrific.
I would agree with that, Bonjo. Hold on. I would agree with that statement, Bonjo. Purdy is elite based on his expectations. That is 100% an accurate statement, Bonjo. I agree with that. I know you were trying to troll me with that statement, but which I have no problem with.
I think it's proven the point.
But I think I agree with that.
Yeah,
like wholeheartedly. Brock Purdy, based on expectations, is elite.
From a proportional standpoint, if you become Brock Purdy after you're Mr. Irrelevant, absolutely. That is an elite proportion. Yes,
come on, man.
Is he an elite quarterback in the league?
In the scale of what quarterback should be in the NFL? No.
But I'll tell you who looks like an absolute brilliant person. The entire war room in San Francisco has said, not only is Purdy going to be our Mr. Irrelevant, but we're going to do the unthinkable and keep him.
So according to TD's scale, where would I put Brock Purdy? I would put him at above average or good.
I would probably put him in that sweet spot in between there because you need to see
100%.
See a full season of Brock Purdy. Give me a full season of him before I make a determination.
Based on the absolute scale of how it is, Brock Purdy would be above average or good, and Skylar Thompson would be below average. Nothing wrong with that. Now, according to their expectations,
right,
Skylar's above average, and you're right, Purdy's elite. No doubt about that, according to expectations. And you put that caveat on there, and that's fair. That's fair to evaluate it like that. Nothing wrong with it. And if you see it differently, so be it. But, and I'm not just calling you out. I'm just saying anybody for that matter. I'm just saying if anybody sees it differently, it's a point of view. That's the part of TD scales. It's his viewpoint of how it is. But on pure base definition, with my opinion of it, that's how I would view it. All right. Mike White, go. What are your thoughts about Mike White, man?
What, he's played 10 games. He's had a couple of nice games. He's had a couple of stinkers. Do I want to see Mike White? Anything? I would love to see him in 2 games. And the reason why I say 2 games, let's just be a realist. Maybe there's a game that Tua just is out of for a very tolerable reason. And then week 18, no luckiness, Tua sits because they already wrapped up what they need to wrap up. So if you get 2 weeks of Mike White, hopefully he can have 2 good games. I don't want to see him, but I think on this particular offense, if he needs to be relied upon a game or 2 to just control the offense, let the defense take care of business, I think he can. I don't think he's a guy to start on your fantasy team because there's good people for him to throw to. But I think that he is a fine option who could probably rank in the middle of the pack as backup quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not the best backup quarterback in the NFL, but he certainly isn't the worst. I think he's right in that kind of middle mix.
Sorry, I'm responding to people in the chat. I'm trying to do better based on previous conversations that I don't address the chat as much as I do because I'm hosting a show. So I'm just trying to address the chat. I don't want it to ever be said that Steven doesn't listen and tries to adapt what people when they say, could you do this more? Yes, I will try. Mike White, if I'm honest with you, and again, I knew this is where this conversation was going to head. I love Tua, right? Love him. You can call me a Tua-nair if you want. That's fine. I do think that Mike White's going to see the field this year because history has shown he has not until Tua can be fully healthy for a season. I cannot believe that he can be healthy for a season. Okay. So I'm going to say that Mike White's going to see the playing field this year. And
will he see the playing field? Yeah, he'll see it. But
I hope it's not for an extended period of time.
Correct.
And I hope that it's not for concussions.
Correct.
And by the way, my full hope is that Tua plays every game this year. So that's kind of where I'm at with Mike White. I love how people are trying to say that I said Purdy was elite. I love how that people are putting that in there. I said, according to expectations, he was elite. This is the problem. This is the problem, man. You guys take everything we say, and I'm just going to say me. You guys take everything I say and put a grain of salt to it and say, you know what? Let me sprinkle a little bit of what you said and make it fact, make it reality. I said, according to expectation, he was Mr. Irrelevant. His expectations were he never should have seen the field, Brock Purdy. He never, and if he did, he shouldn't have done anything remotely close to what he did. The man played at a Pro Bowl level the entire year and brought his team all the way to the NFC Championship game and made them reconsider a third overall pick and say, we don't need him no more. We got Purdy. Jimmy Garoppolo, we don't need him no more. We got Purdy. So according to expectations, he was elite. He played at an elite level according to his expectations. Now, is Brock Purdy elite? No. Never said that he was. He is an above average to a good quarterback. But he's got a high ceiling. There's a lot to like about the kid. So understand what I say when I tell you all this. Stop saying, Lewis, you better stop, man. Get me wound up this morning, Lewis.
Sure seems to be
I had to deal with your Laker insults and all this.
The shoe seems to be on the other foot this week.
Rashad, I'm going to put a picture of feet up in the chat. Keep it up, man.
Feel like we've flipped the roles over the last 7 days, Steven.
I'm just saying. They're driving me bananas, putting words in my mouth. Look.
Never been there. Never know. Let's go to the defense. Oh, we still have the offensive line to talk about.
We still have Tua. We haven't talked about Tua.
But we know what the deal is with Tua.
We do.
He's on the team. We know the deal. We know what he is. We do. We know what he is. Right? I just don't think that we all need him to be an elite quarterback. I'm not saying that he has no chance to be an elite quarterback. I'm saying that we need him to just do his business, what we saw him capable of doing, stay healthy, and just make the right decisions. Because, again, this defense is going to make life easier without us even realizing it, from starting field position, mix that in with the return game. And I'm telling you, the next step of coaching with McDaniel learning from his problems, the running game will help Tua out more this year. So Tua, stay healthy. I think he will be fine. We don't need him to be a top 3 statistical quarterback. We need the Dolphins to just win games. He can help them do that.
I think here's my expectation of Tua Tagovailoa this year. Tua Tagovailoa will be a Pro Bowler. He will shatter records from his previous year. He will win football games in December, and he will be healthy for 85% of the year. That is what I fully expect from him. Not saying he's going to do 100% yet, just not.
I like the 85% number. And I don't mean to look at what you just said in terms of those predictions. I'm not turning him down and saying I won't want him. I would love that. But I truly believe that it just doesn't have to be that way. from a statistical standpoint, Tua is going to need to compete with your Mahomes, your Allens, potentially, your Aaron Rodgers, your Herberts. Those games could be shootout games, but I do feel that the games that they should win, the defense is going to make it so simplistic for them for those 4 games or 5 games where they literally should beat the pants off of a couple of opponents. I'm including the Tennessee Titans. I'm including a home game against the Patriots. I truly believe that. There's going to be a lot of games where this defense and the special teams make life so easy that I don't care if we see 17 out of 22 for 190 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks for Tua. Don't give me any complaint about a stat if the Dolphins are winning 23-9. I don't care. That's me.
Look, here's the other thing I'll say about Tua. I get the moving the goalpost thing. I think it's fair to say that we do move the goalpost for Tua. That is 100% fair.
The most goalpost moving
I don't
quarterback
have
in the
any
league.
problem if somebody calls me out or anybody out on that. Irving, I did not say it. I said, doesn't matter. I'm not going back towards Irving.
Just leave it.
Not get me, Irving. You're not going to do it. You're not going to drive me crazy on Spread Kindness Friday. I refuse.
Somewhere there's a math teacher that understood your comparison.
Thank you. Somebody did.
You're fine.
Anyways, not dealing with y'all capping people today. Color, get these guys. Put them in check, Color. Tell them they don't understand semantics. Okay? Your favorite word, Color. Help me help them. Semantics.
Sal makes a good point, but I want to throw up Sal's comment. Rodgers, Allen, Mahomes, bro. Objectively, I can't rank Tua above any of those guys. But here's where I'm going to counter. I could argue right now that with the weapons that Tua has, in addition to the defense that they are improving on, building, and now will have, Tua does not need to be Josh Allen, does not need to be Mahomes, does not to be Joe Burrow, at the very least. Same thing with Herbert, at the very least. He does not have to be those guys. Honestly, if we're watching every single game where we need Tua to throw 300 yards and the defense is failing, that's just my opinion. If it happens organically and 15-yard throws are turning into yards after the catches, oh, wow, you just happened to have scored a touchdown. I'm not crying, but
nobody.
Let's just understand what we need from our certain players. Do we need him? If he finishes as a top 9 quarterback and this team goes 12-5, I'm thrilled. If he finishes statistically as a top 5 and the team goes 9-8, God forbid, I'm not happy in the least. I don't care that he's a statistically gifted quarterback. I want the perfect combination: defense, special teams, Tua doing what he needs to do, this team winning 11 or 12 games plus playoff wins.
I think that I would agree with you, and I'm moving on. We're going to the offensive line. I'm not dealing with y'all clowns in the chat today. I'm not gonna do it. You're not gonna get me emotional, man. Just not. I'm losing my voice. That's all it is. I wasn't really crying. I'm just saying. You ever had seasonal allergies?
Allergies are tough.
God, I'm dying, dude.
Spring's a tough time for me.
I am dying. Last couple of days, Tuesday night, I had an allergy attack while I'm on the field coaching. Was dying for the next 2.5 hours. Kind of didn't 100% get over it the last couple of days, and then was outside all day yesterday, was okay. And then towards the end of the night at the baseball game again, started just, oh my God, these seasonal allergies are killing me. It says the pollen level is really high here, but I take over-the-counter medication and prescription medication for seasonal allergies. But it ain't working this year, man. I think I need to go get something new. I'm dying over here. All right. Let's finish up with the offensive line.
I'm reading some of the things in the chat, and just the ears have to be cleaned out or the eyes have to be scratched. I don't think there's comprehension that goes on. Skylar did not win the Jet game. Skylar got a W for being the starting quarterback.
They scored 11 points.
Nobody won the Jet game. The Dolphins didn't lose that game
because of semantics.
The Skylar got a W, but the Dolphins simply didn't lose. And Noah happened to have gotten the interception in the corner front corner of the end zone to end the game, but the game was not won because of Noah Igbenogany. These are the semantics that go on in life, you know?
Pete does not like your statement about that.
I love Pete. Pete could do no wrong. So, Pete, I love you, buddy. Ear to ear smile. I love Pete. See that? We can grow. We all can grow.
We could grow. All right, let's go to offensive line. I really do want to talk about the O-line. Okay?
when a guy like Pete says, Jason, please stop, and he's got a screen of Skylar Thompson in his background, probably. It makes me laugh. It just makes me laugh.
Let's answer Color's question. Color's been defending me in the chat here. So, why is it okay to say that about Skylar when that is how we win most games? All right, so hold on. I'll answer first, and then I'll let you answer. What you just said about Skylar, right? In that last game. In my opinion, Color, Tua does help us win a lot of games. And without him, I don't know if we would have won the games. Some of the games, there's no way we would have won the Baltimore game without Tua. And I know I always reference that, but there's one right there, right?
Record-setting fourth quarter game. You have to reference it over and over again.
100%. I don't think if Tua stays out in that Buffalo game in Miami, I don't know if we win that game without him. Now, our defense played a big role in it. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying Tua played a part in it too.
The first Buffalo game where Tua came back, people wrote him off.
I don't care. Joe and I were sitting in the suite, and we were like, "Yep, this is it. No, this ain't good. This is going to be so bad."
I don't care who you are as a quarterback, skill wise, arm strength wise. If you get walloped the way he did, and then run out to start the second half, I mean, the electricity that it gives to your teammates alone, and that was a sloppy game. That game could have been lost, but Allen threw a duck to end it, and they escaped a home game with a victory after their quarterback could have been knocked out for good.
Buffalo's O-line collapsed. All right, that's fair.
But that's fine.
But Color, to your part, to your favorite word, it's semantics. All right, it's they all played it, but I will tell you this subtraction of Tua not playing in that game, even if everything else happened.
And one thing too, I have one thing that I really
they don't.
I know that sometimes I like to go. Sometimes, a lot of times, I know I like to get up on the soapbox here and do my little town hall here. But if I have one football related thing to implore people, we are not going to be seeing the problematic third down situations on defense that we continually saw last year. Vic Fangio is going to flip the switch on a lot of the problems that this defense saw last year. Forget the injuries. There was still enough talent on this defense week 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, almost going into that losing streak, where the schemes, the third and nines, the down and distance personnel, the 15 yards in the middle of the field being open was so asinine. You have to look at a lot of those losses or a lot of those situations and blame the defensive plan and those injuries. There is going to be such a difference this year on what that defense is going to be from a X's and O's, from a talent, and from the ability for Fangio to put them in the right spot to succeed.
And Color says again, no shade on Tua, but why is that he's the only one that could have won in that stitch? All right, so to be fair,
the Baltimore stitch.
To be fair, is it possible? Is there a possibility that Skylar or Teddy Bridgewater could have come into that game and we still could have won? Yes, there is that possibility. I will make that blanket statement. I will also say the odds were heavily favored to the Bills if Tua doesn't go back and play in that Buffalo game.
Oh, they would have, yeah.
And in my opinion, I want y'all to hear this, my opinion, there's no way they would have won that game without Tua. I just don't see it. Based on everything that I saw from Teddy that last year, based on everything I saw from Skylar last year, there's no way in hell we would have won that Buffalo game without Tua playing later in that game, without him coming back. Wouldn't have happened.
the funny thing is, it's like that Bills game. Yeah, we could say that the Bills offensive line. You could say football is a team with 3 phases. So you could say the Dolphins might have won because the Bills offensive line really collapsed and it didn't. But the Dolphins defense that whole game allowed the Bills to just march up the field and just not stop them at all. The fact that the Bills had, they have 19 points that game? They should have had 40. I mean, they were letting the Bills do anything at home despite the heat. So they were exhausted because they were on the field much more. They were on the field a heck of a lot more than the Dolphins offense. So the fact that they got out you won the game. The Dolphins won the game. So there was situations on both sides of the ball that could have said, well, this team did that or happened to them. This team had this or happened to them. But ultimately, Tua came back. Team took care of business, and Allen had a chance to win the game. He did not. And that's how the Dolphins won the game. A number of those things came together.
All right. I'm trying to find something here.
We got to move to the defense.
Yeah. No, we're not doing the defense today. We're going to do the defense next week. We're going to finish up with the
okay. Oh, wow. I lost track of time. We can do that.
We don't have time to do the defense today, but we're going to do offensive line.
We didn't talk about yet today?
Huh?
We didn't talk about yet today?
What?
Dalvin Cook. Oh, sorry, we did.
How many times?
I think that was 18. It
was 18 times?
Scott, where are we at? Scott, where are we at, buddy? I just want to keep people consistent.
Yep, that's all. That's all we want to do.
All we want is consistency.
For the rest of the show, we're just going to randomly say Dalvin Cook's name.
20.
We're going to keep adding it. We're going to keep doing it. Okay? Just randomly in any of your spiels for the rest of the show, say his name.
You got it.
Okay? All right. Tarana Armstead, Kendall Lamb, Jerron Christian, Ryan Hayes, James Tunstall, very similar to Laramie Tunzel, but
every time I look at that name, every time.
Connor Williams, Dan Feeney, Alma Uvavle.
I like this kid.
Robert Hunt, Lester Cotton, Austin Jackson, Isaiah Wynn, Cedric Ogilvy, and Keon Smith. Where do you want to start?
Well, if you're going to start,
we started with the last line with everybody, so let's go to James Tunstall. We'll start with James Tunstall.
I just did a little dive on Tunstall. He is, he comes in as just a huge height-wise prospect, 6'7", one of the 3 tallest Dolphins in camp right now. When you put him next to Raekwon Davis and fellow rookie Ryan Hayes at 6'7", he's a very good run blocker. He's also a little bit well-traveled. He played at, Stony Brook in Long Island, which was an FCS school, football championship subdivision school, and then solidified himself as a consistent starter with Cincinnati. I think he doesn't have the outside line tackle ability to be a very good pass blocker, but if they toy with maybe moving him to guard, I really like his run blocking tenacity. And, at that size, he could really open up some lanes for runners on the inside. But I think it's a lot of work for him to become a consistent swing tackle. But this dude's a big kid that I would just like to get a little bit more fundamentally sound in pass protection. But his run blocking is what can give him a ticket to any type of a practice squad or even better.
Look, there's any offensive lineman, in my opinion, that we're going to talk about has an opportunity to make the team. It will be dependent upon, can they show that they can play against first and second round defense. And here's the best part. There's almost no better front line. There's a few, don't get it twisted, but we have one of the best front lines on defense in the NFL. So these guys every day on the O-line are going to get the best of the best of the best, sir. Okay.
And you're also, you're getting the best of, you're getting a great battle every day and working with this deep defense that they have, especially the coaching staff that's going to coach these guys up to tell them what they want to do against these practice squad and borderline players. But Tunsil did survive 3 other undrafted linemen being cut. Another kid from University of Miami, the DJ Scaff was cut. Another kid, Horst, was a tackle who was cut, a couple of days after they were brought in. So the fact that they're retaining him as the only other outside candidate, rookie undrafted tight end tackle after bringing in 3 of them, shows that he might have some decent potential to go through training camp and maybe to pencil in as a practice squad player. And we do know that there's some potential injury situations. I don't want to say the guy that we are worried about an injury because he's integral to this team, but they're going to need to find a swing tackle.
I don't know who that's going to be, but maybe it will be. Now Ryan Hayes is somebody that's very interesting to me. I had the opportunity to talk a little bit about him with Coach John Harbaugh. Me and Crypto did.
At a baseball game, nonetheless.
At a baseball game. And, look, he was trying to sell me that he's got the potential. He can be a really good guy. I think he was just selling his guy to a couple of Dolphins fans. I think he was being nice. But what I will say is I don't see him making the squad. But I am also putting everything under advisement that every offensive lineman that comes into these parts has an opportunity to make their presence known if they are good enough, and they will get their opportunities against the best. And it's almost the same deal as James. If Ryan is good, we're going to see it.
The funny thing is with this offensive line. Oh, sorry to interrupt. You right there?
Yeah, my allergies.
I got you. So with this offensive line, look, we know what the weaknesses are. We know it's right tackle with Austin Jackson. We know it's left guard with Liam Eichenberg. We know that there have been scrap heap free agent competitors brought in. Isaiah Wynn has the potential of maybe battling Austin Jackson for a right tackle spot. But here's also what everyone should think about with guys like Ryan Hayes, with a Tunstall, with Wynn, and anyone else they might bring on in. They have more than just 2 offensive line positions to kind of evaluate and tweak, because you have a guy like a Dan Feeney, and I'm going to lump all these guys in kind of one thing here because we're running a little over here. But Dan Feeney was brought in as a free agent from the Jets. He also had center ability. He and another undrafted in Alama Ulave is kind of a purebred center. So if Ulave shows a lot of promise at center, and so does Feeney, I wouldn't even be out of the realm of moving Connor on over to left guard, have Feeney be the center, and potentially have Connor Williams back at left guard. Not saying it'll happen. Option. If that doesn't happen, where Feeney is a better depth guard and Ulave is just someone you might want to maybe develop as a potential backup center or whatever, fantastic. But there's more than just the left guard and the right tackle. The Dolphins could potentially find guys to move some players around or to find a new starter, because I am not guaranteeing Austin Jackson or Liam Eichenberg are starters. I know people have insinuated it, but why would you bring in all this competition? Why would you make a draft pick of a lineman? Why would you they're still interested when money comes off the books of going after about 5 or 6 decent linemen still left on the free agent market. I'm in love with a guy named Dalton Risner, who's an ex-Bronco. Fangio knows him from his time as a head coach there. Let's guard. Bring in Dalton Risner. I think
I would love to get Dalton Risner. I've said as much, and I think that Cam Fleming is somebody I want to.
Another guy
Risner
too.
And Fleming came in. It would make the acquisitions of Ogilvy and Isaiah Wynn even more promising for me, and better. Right now, people are just looking at the Cedric Ogilvy and Isaiah Wynn as this is what the Dolphins are going with. I hope that's not the case. My hope is that Cam Fleming or Dalton Risner or Fluker come in through the door.
Fluker's a good name too.
Yeah. So that's my hope of that. I will say, that at the end of the day, looking at this offensive line, going to somebody like Lester Cotton or Dan Feeney, they're going to get their opportunities to make the impact on this squad, right? And it'll be done through training camp and training camp and the inter squad practices were how those guys going to get their reps, right? Ogabitu and Keon Smith, and Jerron Christian. I think all those guys are.
I got 8 linemen right now that I think I have as safe. And then do they bring a 9th in? You know, I mean, I got guys like Lester Cotton, Keon Smith, Cedric, out. Jerron Christian, I don't think will make the team. So I'm looking at Isaiah Wynn, Austin Jackson, Teron Armstead, locks. Ryan Hayes, I think he sneaks it because of the potential to maybe moving to guard too. And then you have Hunt, Eichenberg, Feeney, Robert Jones. So along with Connor Williams, your only center other than you're undrafted and Feeney.
No way Ryan Hayes makes this team, bro.
I don't want to say no way, but he would be guy 52 or 53. He's a Michigan guy.
So Jason, let's put this in perspective. Anybody we talk about on the O-line, they're going to play. They're going to get an opportunity to play. Let's to be fair, right? I said Tua, I can't say 100% he's going to be healthy all year. I know that Mike White is going to get some snaps this year. Guaranteed. Okay? And until Tua proves me wrong, I'm going to think that. And I want him to prove me wrong. Same thing about Teron Armstead. Until Teron Armstead plays a full year healthy, I'm going to believe he's going to miss a few games, which you insert Isaiah Wynn.
That's a guarantee.
And until the offensive line becomes a lock, somebody that you know, I got to think every single person that makes the 53 on the O-line, they're going to get reps. So if Ryan Hayes makes this team, we damn sure better hope that man can play some football because we're going up against some pretty stout defensive line.
If we're talking about Hayes as a prospect, I like him because he was part of what was voted as the best offensive line unit in college back, with the Wolverines. And I think he's a smart kind of player. I think that if he learns how to play guard, it could pressure Eichenberg. And I think that's where you want to put these guys. Teron Armstead is about a 14-game max guy, in my opinion. I pray I'm wrong, but the guy that you need to really perform in his absence is potentially Wynn. I think that's the only lockdown solid. All right, Armstead's out. Wynn could maybe pick up 3-4 games and be okay. But this line is a different line with Teron Armstead. We know that. So you can't have 21. But you need a very good swing tackle. God forbid you have Teron out, and you can't have a left side that's so brutal with whomever, and then Liam Eichenberg. He's just not a good football player at the moment, and I don't think he's chiseled in this position. I think someone's got to take it from him. I do. I hope.
I would say this. I think that ultimately the Dolphins offensive line has to upgrade from a standpoint of, I don't want to say numbers, but just like if the running backs have a good year, O-line improved. If there's less injuries, O-line improved. If they're like, it's these little things that are big things, right? And ultimately, I want to see the Dolphins just be better on the O-line because it is the one Achilles heel that every Dolphin fan can say. Every single one of them. Whether you're a Pete Takes fan who thinks Skylar's the man, whether you're a Von Joe, Spawn Joe, and his willing and dealings of how he feels about the team, whether you're a hater like Lewis, whether you're a semantics guy like Color, we all agree that health. We all agree with this. To an ears, to a haters. Health is the only thing, is the biggest thing that is going to stop this team from being as great as it can be. And a big part of that is on that O-line. We can all agree to that.
I mean, here's the thing about the offensive line I want to talk about. Are they a good unit? No. Are they an improving unit? Yes. if we're looking at the most sacks allowed last season, they are nowhere close to being in the top portion of the league and giving up the most sacks. They're actually in the bottom. They gave up 35 sacks. Leader gave up 63 sacks. They're the worst in the league, gave up 63. I want to also look at certain aspects of the running game that were decent. Take out Chase Edmonds, and when you look at the yards per carry of a Mostert, and of a Wilson, and of an Ahmed, they're not bad. It's about 4.8 when you average them all together, taking out Edmonds. So statistically, the offensive line is improving from what they were 2 years ago. There was only one way to go from 2 years ago. They were the worst in the league. I do think that the eye test does prove that there is a lot of work to be done in two areas of the offensive line. But I think that this isn't a nuclear level problem. It's an issue that needs fixing and solidification. But I do think that the dial is moving in a decent way to help this aspect of this team. It's not a nuclear disaster of a situation at the moment.
It'll definitely be interesting to see where it kind of goes, from the standpoint of, what do the Dolphins do to be, the best offensive line. Teron Armstead, what does Teron Armstead need to do this year in order to prove to the fans that, hey, look, the money we spent on him was well worth the reward?
If he plays 14 games, and those 14 games, he gives up 0 sacks, 1 penalty, 2 penalties. That's his worth. When he's in, if he doesn't give, if Tua's jersey is clean on Teron Armstead's sheet on his ledger, we're good. That's really all that matters. And of course, he's helping in the run game, which we know that he can.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Austin Jackson.
I'm waiting for someone to take the job. I am, because a lot of times when Greer first said the comment that insinuated that we're going to run with Austin, we'll be all right, whatever. A couple of weeks later, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So at best, they said, we're going to give Austin a chance to make himself viable to sign somewhere else next year. Because we're sure as heck not going to sign him because we just don't think that he's going to do anything. We would have just picked up the option to have another year to think about it. So they know he's not in their long-term plans. Like everyone knows that. So all I think it's going to take is either a better free agent on the market. It could be Wynn. Just take the damn job from him. And there's no
just
reason.
Win. Just win, baby.
Just win, baby. Right. Just win the job, man. But if it's not Wynn, will it be a guy like a James Tunstall? Doubtful. But you could think about Austin Jackson right now as being the starter, but I'm not guaranteeing it. There's a long way to go for someone to take it or for him to lose this job. He's proven nothing to me why he has locked down a guaranteed role. And when they don't pick up a 5th-year option, that's telling everyone else out there, hey, there's an opening in 12 months. Who wants to get in early? Simple as that.
All right. I think that's pretty much, look, there's a couple of other people on the O-line, but I don't think we need to get into all of them for the standpoint of
we know who Robert Hunt is.
Yeah, we know who Robert Hunt is. We get who Connor Williams is. Dan Feeney.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited about Greg Fontaine is predicting the 10-year run for Austin Jackson. I'll send your kids to college and I'll take care of your mortgage, Greg, if Austin Jackson is a right tackle for the next 10 years.
Sorry, don't say that. They'll put you on. Greg will. You got 10 years. So wait, hold on. You got 10 years to make a fortune. All right. So that's not a bad.
I'll be putting the Dolphins in the Super Bowl if that's the case. In 8 years, we're talking Austin Jackson in his 14th year as an NFL right tackle. Life's very good. Life's very, very good. But no, we will not see Austin Jackson as a Dolphin in 2024.
I would agree with that.
And he still has a whole life to have a good career. He's a young player still. I think he could just fit better somewhere else. They are not retaining him.
All right. Miami Sports Music's #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers, right here on the Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. I'm your host, Stephen D. Alongside me, Jason Sarney. It is Spread Kindness Friday. We went through the entire offense in depth today. Next Friday, we're going to do the defense, and we're going to go into special teams. And I think we got into a lot today with the O-line, or with the offense, period. I thought it was a very good discussion about the roster and where we kind of see it from a standpoint of each individual person. If you guys have questions, you can always put it to us on Twitter. At Jason_Sarney, at Stephen D SKPL. We'll be more than happy to answer those questions. You can always hit us up, DM us, whatever it is. It is Spread Kindness Friday. So what is your final thought of the day, Jason?
Final thought of the day, we're entering, I guess, a football time where there's going to be a little bit of mini camp coming up, and then there's going to be a little bit of a lull. So, it's a really good time to, I guess, just get familiar with a lot of these guys, get excited for what's going to happen during the late spring and early summer. Definitely time to start planning your games and your travels and your road trips and your tailgates, right, Stephen D? Here, right?
FedEx Takeover, Philly Finvasion, and Baltimore Beatdown, baby. I put it in the chat. It's also in the link in the description. Make sure you guys go check it out.
So this is also the time that I go with my list and try to get travel approval from the boss.
Oh, well, hey, look, man, I can't help you out with that one.
No one can, man. She's been very, very lenient, and I have to thank my wife every single day for letting me go on my travel excursions. She and the family will be joining on a couple of games, but hoping to get this all set up in the next couple of days and weeks. Travel lockdown, Stephen.
Dude, it's going to be fun no matter what it is. It's going to be a blast, and
it's going to be a good year.
It will be a very good year, and
we're gonna start to cook this year.
I like that. We're gonna cook.
We're gonna cook with a capital C.
With a capital C, man.
Because it's a proper noun, baby. It's 24.
Just so you know, Jason and I talk a lot. I absolutely hate when he corrects all of my writing and skill because he's a writer.
My dad was an editor and an English teacher. Blame him.
You sometimes
blame him. He corrects me verbally when I forget apostrophes. Verbally
bothers me.
It's impossible.
Son of a... Guys, if you want to come to the Baltimore Beatdown, man, it's going to be good. The Miami Sports Music Tailgreeter Tailgate Tour. We're going to have a free Saturday night meet and greet at Jimmy's Famous Seafood. We got game tickets available, lower level and upper level, in an all-inclusive kick-ass tailgate, by the way. Get your tickets now on Tailgreeter. Search Baltimore Beatdown. Make sure y'all do it. It's going to be a good time. Baltimore Beatdown. We did it last year. We had about 150 plus people, 160 people. We fully expect to get about 200 plus this year. It's on New Year's Eve, and we are also thinking of putting together a New Year's Eve bash that evening. So it's going to be
a victory bash.
It's going to be a victory. Victory. Jason, you're a genius. You are a genius.
And maybe in the Eve with the V, you start using victory when you spell it. New Year's Eve victory. Just saying.
Jason, Crypto says, I already got my ticket, Steven. I ain't mad at you, cuz. I like it. All right, here's my final thought of the day. For you people.
You people?
You people.
What do you mean, you people?
I mean, all you people in the chat. It is Spread Kindness Friday. It is not Spread Hating Friday. It is not Spread. First of all, let me just get this straight. I'm not offended by anybody, and I had a blast with you guys trolling me today. It was a lot of fun. Okay, I could dish it out as much as I can take it. What I don't like in the chat is when people start to get personal. Okay. I don't like the personal insults, and we had a situation last Friday, and that was addressed with parties, and we took care of all that. But in the chat today, look, I try to host the show on a day in, day out basis. And I try to look at the chat, be the principal if I need to, all of the separate things, be in the conversation of the show, whatever it's going to be. Yes, I know how to order my cheesesteaks, Mudbone. A steak wit. Okay, I get
wit. It's not throw the H out. Wit.
I got you.
Pro V wit. Provolone with Steven. Come on. Provi Wit.
I like the cheese in the can. What is it called?
Whiz.
Oh, cheese with whiz. That's what I like.
We'll fix you.
Well, that's Saturday. We're going to be taking over Gino's and Pat's.
John.
I'm pretty stoked about it. That's Saturday. I know it's not the best cheesesteak, but
they're both very good. They're both very good, and it's a that Philly trip's going to be awesome. 100%.
But to finish what I'm saying, I'm going to call some people out here, and you're going to get mad at me. Some people, I don't care. I think that these are good things that need to be addressed so that people understand what I am looking for when you guys do this. Okay. Mission Fin Possible. I know you've been going back and forth with Pete all day, but when you put a chat up that says, Pete, your opinion means so little to Dolphins fans, I'm not mad at that. It's whatever. That's your opinion. If you stop showing up on Dolphins panels and spaces, nobody would even notice. That essentially is a term of like, go kill yourself or do something stupid. No need for that bullshit. There's none. Just none. There's no need for it. If that's how you want to act in the chat, don't be in the chat. Now, I'm not saying Pete deserves any song and praises for some of the stuff he goes into the chat, but I specifically saw that, and I specifically called it out because that's the stuff I don't want to see. I don't want to see it. It is not Spread Kindness Friday. That is not how you do it. You want to have a good conversation with somebody? Do that. You want to say that their takes are clown? Don't care. I'm not saying you can't debate and even pick on the person's viewpoint, but don't get personal. That's so stupid. Do you realize that we are having a conversation about the Dolphins? Let me ask you, do the Dolphins affect your paycheck? Do they affect how you do things on a day in, day out basis? If anybody is even close to that, it's me, because if the Dolphins don't do well, I get less views. If it's in the offseason, I get less views. When it's in season and the Dolphins are doing well, more people are tuning in. I'm the closest person that can come to. But in reality, they don't affect shit. Get a life. And I'm not saying you, Mission Fin Possible, to get a life. I'm saying people in general. I am mad at that statement, but I'm not trying to call you out and say get a life. I'm trying to say people in general.
I got to tell you, Steven, I don't mean to jump in here, but listen, it gives me an opportunity because last week got a little crazy. I'm going to take a lot of responsibility. Definitely apologetic. Definitely just maybe a couple of days ago, I got over the mental, wow, that week was a little rough. And I put a lot of it on myself. But, a lot of these things are a consistency. If there's certain things that are consistent negative tone, there's track record and history based on a lot of conversation points that could lead to a quick reaction. But Steven, you sent me something a while back, maybe 2 weeks ago, or maybe right after the thing, something from Ted Lasso. And it's the phrase, be curious, not judgmental.
Yep.
And if there's ever a question that anyone ever has for any take, ask the question. Don't assume that it might be an insinuation of what you think one of us or anyone is trying to say. So be curious, not judgmental. If you want clarification, say, oh, Steven, you just said this. Do you really mean that Brock Purdy's an elite quarterback? And then it might have given Steven the opportunity to say, you know what, I misspoke. What I really wanted to say was if you're comparing. So maybe that curiosity could have led you to say something. You know what I'm saying?
That. Mission Fin Possible said, don't call me out if you're not going to address my response.
I wouldn't address that response because it was simply a rude response too.
Yeah. Like that's all. If you heard me simply, and I can see how you would take, if I said, hey, not if, I said, stop doing that, get a life. I backed that up by saying, wasn't directly specifically towards you to get a life. It's just directed at most people who have those responses to people. I apologize that your thing got called out. It wasn't the only one today. It was the one that I could see closest to that could make my point. Sorry that it was yours, but you did it. Right? I'll give you another one. All right. Mark K. I love Mark K. Right? He's a Bills fan. He supports the channel. Good guy. Okay. Besides, he's a Bills fan. Okay. Besides that, he's a good guy for the most part. Now, Mark K has done some stuff in the chat and gotten rude with people, but I don't think anything more than what most people have done to him. I think it works both ways, right? So, Pete, he said, Pete, with a few exceptions, people in this room are loudmouthed, no knowledge, delusional fake fans, or people who gargle with Tua's nut cream who are too intelligent challenged to respond to me. I don't think that needed to be said. I think that's another one I don't necessarily like.
There's also
what I'm not going to do is what I'm not going to sit here and do is say this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. And I understand I'm calling some of this out, but I get crap all the time. I had 15 different conversations last week about the situation with Jason, about the situation in years past or in conversations past. And the number one thing that was told to me, aside from those situations, is, Steven, you need to start addressing more stuff in the chat when people are getting personal in the chat. And my response has always been, I can't control the chat. The chat is its own life. We try to say, hey, look, if you're not going to be respectful, get out of the chat.
You could disagree with a take, and that's fine. But there are certain words that you could actually call people that are really disgusting, despicable words. And I've seen those float around directed to people there, directed to me, directed to Steven. And words hurt. The pen is mightier than the sword, people.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he said, all right, so he said, you can call me out all day. I don't care. It doesn't bother me one bit. But if
we don't know who you are.
No, I'm not even worried about that. He said, but if you're basing your argument off what you think I meant, not what I actually said. So my rebuttal to you, Finn Possible, and being respectful to that response there, is I can only respond to what you said because that's all I am seeing. Because words matter. People see that. People see that stuff. I can't interpret how you feel or what you meant to say by, I went off what you said, your words. And people need to take more responsibility when they say shit. And if you're not going to, don't get mad at me when I can't call shit out. I think I do a very good job 90% of the time, 95% of the time of dealing with shit as it comes. I do want my channel to be a basis of positivity, love, kindness. I think Wednesdays are crazy. I think there's been certain moments at other days of the weeks that have gotten crazy, but we're on 5 days a week throughout the year. And I let fans come onto the show because that is part of what I love to do. And I let the fans take over the show because that's what I want to do. So that ultimately is how I put it, is what I want to address. You said what I implied for Pete to go kill himself by saying nobody would notice if he weren't here. Let's play this out, okay? Let's play this out. I think this is a very productive conversation, by the way. Your thing was, Pete, your opinion means so little to Dolphins fans. You could have said that, stopped. I never would have addressed it. If you stop showing up on Dolphins panels and spaces, nobody would even notice. That's a personal attack. You can't argue with me about that. You can't. You straight up attacked him personally. And how do you know what he's going through? And look, exactly. Pete, take it. Let's get that straight. I've had conversations with Pete behind closed doors. That's my man, $100,000. But I've called Pete out on bullshit too. And Pete will tell you that. Same thing that Robert's saying in the chat. He said, Robert even just said, he says, Steven, you can call me out from Wednesday. Robert went off. He cussed him out. I kicked him off. We had an hour conversation over the phone after that, and it was a very good one. And we both walked away saying, I understand why Steven did what he did, and I understood why he did what he did. Didn't make it right, but I understood it. And he understands where I'm at in my thing. You never know what the fuck somebody's going through. Yeah, I'm cussing right now because I'm mad. I'm mad. Do y'all understand that words fucking matter? Stop doing this bullshit.
It's massively true, man. Especially if you want to look at something like a Twitter or even Facebook, these are context and words that don't have, even on the chat, there's no verbal tone to this. So when there's an anonymous person directing such hate, you don't see it as any other way than what that person reads it as. And the person reading it, you definitely don't know what that person's going through.
This is the end of the show. I'm
wrapping
up the show because it's my spread kindness take. And you know what needs to be addressed? The spread of personal attacks and hatred.
That's got to stop.
Because I'm a grown-ass man, and a lot of people in here are grown-ass men. And y'all are sitting here arguing in the chat like you're 5-year-olds. Yeah, I said it. Cut it out. Be done with it. I love the debates. I have no problem with 90% of what goes on in the chat. Some of them are good jabs and good fun. And if you don't know somebody, get to know them before you start joking with them like that. And to be fair, I would notice if Pete was not here.
I would definitely notice.
I have noticed when Pete's not here. And to be fair, he's not the person who donates the most to this channel. As a matter of fact, he hasn't donated a lot recently. That doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. I don't care if you donate $1 or $100 fucking dollars. Pete contributes to the show on another level that nobody else, that a lot of other people haven't. Bon Joe's the same way, too. Lewis, same way. Cap for Life, same way. Chef Zhu, same way. They all inherently, Andrevius, level 2 noob, they have their stamp on this show, and I fucking love them. There's no doubt about that. And I want more people to get their own stamp into the show. That is part of the reason I do Miami Sports Music Podcast Network, a network that's made for the fans by the fans. But when I have to address stupid shit like this, it sucks. It's stupid. And I'm done dealing with it. So what's going to happen is be better. Be grown-ass men. Be adults. Again, you're putting value into my words are not there. And whether I put value into your word, you're not. Can you at least admit that that was a personal attack? At minimum? Just take some responsibility that you personally attacked him. That's all I want you to do. That's all I want. Some accountability, some responsibility and accountability. Absolutely. That's what I'm looking for. I appreciate you saying that. Absolutely. That's it. And I understand the value of words that are not there, but you have to understand that people interpret things differently. They do. Crypto, shut up. Eat your hot dogs. The guy's the single most negative person in this community. I don't care if I hurt his feelings. You don't know him. You have no idea of who he is. How somebody comes off on here is not them in real life. Let's just get that straight. That is the definition of a keyboard warrior.
Careful. I'm staying away from that phrase this week.
I am just telling you. I just want to see better from some of y'all. That's it. That's all. And I don't want it to ever be said that Steven's never addressed shit in the chat. Ever again. That better not ever come from anybody's mouth. Because I will take that shit personal. I've done it. Teapot says, where was this when Caslin was personally attacking Alex? He was in the work. How much money he makes, that's bullying, isn't it? You're right, Teapot. I didn't see that, and I'm sorry that it did. I have always said, if you have an issue, come to me. I will address it. Don't come to me on a public platform. Come to me privately. DM me at Stephen DSKPL. If you guys want my email, Stephen, can I have your email so I can talk to you about something? No problem. Be more than happy to give it out. And I will address it on an individual basis as it comes up. What I'm not going to do is address it on a public fucking platform. A lot of people want, and I don't think Jason has an issue with me saying this. I don't think he will. And if he does, he'll tell me about it afterwards. I've told Jason as much. Jason, if you have a problem with somebody, talk to them behind closed doors. There's some people you don't want to have a conversation with. I get it. I respect it. I understand it. But what I don't think people should do is have it on a public platform for the world to hear, because that's how shit gets interpreted differently. The goal, Manalo, and I appreciate your thing, is that if you become a member of the show, that you become a mod. That was one of the perks of being a member of the show. You might be right. Maybe I need to reevaluate that. But I also think that people need to get up to grow up too. I'm not putting my phone number up. I don't want you guys calling me.
I'm not putting my phone number up.
I'm putting my phone number up.
No chance.
I'll kiss my ass with that. But and I know G's just messing with me. Mod is short for moderator, not reward. I hate color in his semantics sometimes. God damn it. Don't give me the definite Webster's dictionary color. I don't need to hear it. I will reevaluate 100% moderators. Gosh, you guys happy now? I do love you all. And to be fair, to Mission Fin Possible, I don't know you, and I want to get to know you, and I'm glad you watch my channel, and I'm glad that you watched the show a lot today, and you were involved with it. Color is a walking thesaurus. You're right about that, Irving. No, you didn't.
There it is. There it is.
No, hold on. If you're not, I can't change somebody for not being sorry. I do appreciate the fact that you apologize from distracting the show.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna do it, there's a million other platforms you can go do it on. I think in order for this world to be a better place, we need to realize that it's not what we say, it's how it comes out or how it can be interpreted by other people. It is what we say too, but just understand that everything has
every action has a reaction.
Consequence. Everything has a consequence to what you said, and you never know. You never know what somebody's going through. You don't. You don't know how lonely they are, or how much the depression they're in, or if they're ready to pull the trigger or take too many pills or any of that BS. That's why I always talk about the National Suicide Hotline. I talk about that a lot. 988. It's a real thing. You know why a lot of people get into that? Not everybody, but do you know why a lot of people do? Because they feel like people would not care if they weren't in this world or not. So yes, when you make a statement like you did, just understand, man, people have feelings, man. That's all I want people to know. And for the people that say I'm a hypocrite because I kick people off on my show, no, it is. I don't believe that I am, and I don't believe that's what I've created my platform to be. I have created my platform as a way for the fans to control the narrative of the show. And I believe that 90% of the people that use the timeouts and the bans, they do it in good gesture and in good fun. And sometimes they are sick of hearing Pete's nonsense. So they're like, Pete, not today, can't do it. Love you, but not today. Fair. No problem with that. It allows for people to not take over a show on an all the time basis. And if people see it differently, that's fine. I respect their point of view. It's wrong, but it's their point of view, and I can't change that. My homework for y'all this weekend on Spread Kindness is be careful with the words that you use and how they can be interpreted, not what you meant them to be, not what you are trying to convey. El Capitan, we fight to the death. I say we fight about it. My name is, what does Puss in Boots say? I am, oh, I wish I had it. I wish
You're not talking about the Princess Bride. I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father.
I am Inigo Montoya, and I'm here to defend. I'm here to defend my honor.
I think we're talking about different things. Different movies.
I am talking about a different movie, but I think what people know what I'm trying to do. Stephen is not saying no names, Larry. I'm not saying no name. What can somebody explain to me what's the point of calling somebody out publicly for them to only to have to get on the defense? You killed my father. Prepare to die. That's what it is. Thank you, Cap. Appreciate it.
That's what I said. That was from Princess Bride.
You killed my father. Prepare to die. I'm just telling you, Stephen, raise your eyebrows. Their antennas connect the source. Keep your eyebrows up. Thank me later. At first, I don't know what that is, but okay. Dude, there's no point in publicly calling somebody out. You want to know when it's perfectly acceptable to call somebody out? Here's the real deal, okay? If you have a problem with somebody, you keep it behind closed doors and you address it to them behind closed doors. If they, in turn, after that said conversation, or they ignore you and don't want to talk to you at all, you can either play it one of two ways. You can either then say, hey, look, I had the conversation with them. They're just straight being disrespectful and not saying it, which if you say that on a public platform, that's fine. Don't think there's nothing wrong with that. But they're not worth your time to begin with because they didn't respect what you said anyway. What type of friend are they, or what type of person do you want them in your life to begin with? And the other thing, and the other side of the coin to this is if you do have a conversation with them behind closed doors and you address it with them, it will as long as they are a respectable person and have some common decency, they'll hear you and try to put into effect so that they don't do that again in the future, which I believe most people are like that. We just always see the bad and negative stuff. Because that's what sells. That's what happens. If after you try to address it the right way and it still doesn't happen, by all means, do what you got to do. Rather, don't just do it on my platform. But boo, let's go back to trashing on each other.
Let's go into the weekend the right way.
All right, here's my other thing. I'm not saying that Pete deserves that. I agree with you. I was mad at Pete. I've called out Pete for making stupid remarks about Tua and his concussion. But two wrongs don't make a right. Pete can be wrong and you can be wrong. Here's what I'll say, because I'm done addressing that particular circumstance. Spend time with your family or your loved ones or your friends, because they're the ones who really matter in this world. They're the ones that matter. Forget about football for a weekend. All right. Watch NASCAR this weekend. It's in North Wilkesboro. Go Bubba. Oh, man. I do love you all, and I'm glad that 47 people still want to hear what I have to say. Maybe it's not 400 people like certain people on the YouTube platform have, but I would rather make a difference with you 47 people than spread hate with 400 people.
That works for me. That works for me.
I love y'all. You're all the best fans in the world, and I really do mean that. Not blowing smoke up your ass. If you like today's show and you want to help the channel grow, please donate on Cash App or PayPal right here if you are able to. Only if you are able to, or on YouTube. I just put it in the link below the chat. If you can't donate, that's fine. Please spread the link. Share the link. Let people know that we're here. Tell them that we're here every morning. Mudbone says Steven's out here dropping dimes. I ain't mad at you, Mudbone. I appreciate it. I just want people to be better people and be nicer to people. I live in a very naive world. I can admit that. But that's the world I'm going to create for myself, because I'm not going to have a heart attack of dying for people because I get worked up because people said X, Y, or Z. I know I'm a big guy. You think somebody calling me a jelly donut hurts my feelings? No, doesn't. I appreciate where your heart is, Steven. I appreciate that, Manalo. How did my daughter's game go? Walk off, bottom of the fifth. Let's go. We won. It was great, Kings 1989. Had 14 innings of baseball yesterday. I'm about to say 14 innings of football. 14 innings of baseball yesterday, and it was absolutely amazing. Loved it. Mudbone says dimes with the $10 donation. Love it, man.
Nice.
Thank you for the donation, man.
Good closer.
Don't feel bad, Steven. Toothpick don't feel good either. What? I love color. Let's go Mudbone. Yeah, I like Raphael. He's a good guy. They all are great people. I love you. God loves you. I don't know if the Dolphins love us, but I'm going to say that they do. I'm such a baby because the Dolphins make me cry, and there's nothing I can do. I only want to be with you. All right, I hope you all enjoyed the show today. It was a lot of fun. Even at the end, I'm glad I got that out. I feel a lot better. Please come and hang out with us. I don't know if I'm going to be on Monday or not. I'll have to find out. I bet I'll be on Tuesday. But I love you all. Y'all are the best. Go Heat tonight. Go Panthers tomorrow night. Heat and Panthers all weekend, baby. LeBron's going to get his revenge tomorrow. Let's go. I love y'all. Be good. Peace.
Good luck.
So we know when to switch. This year we got the golden pick. Time to see what that pick about. Bad vibes get sent out. Only fans up in this house. We've been waiting, yeah, we've been patient. Now it's time to cash out, no discount.